What's going on, family? What's going on? Peace and shalom. It's your brother DivineProspect, Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. Thank y'all for your patience. I was trying to get some last minute stuff together for y'all. Also got a new webcam that I'll be using, which is a little more convenient as far as the setup is concerned than my Sony camera. And as you can see, it has a fixed focus, which is great. It doesn't have to zoom in and out a lot. I could have adjusted it on the Sony, but if I did, then the blur effect in the background would be out of whack. I had to soften the image a little bit so it's not too sharp, because it looked like it had some kind of, pixelation, jaggies on it. So I was working on fine tuning that for you. The camera came in about 3 hours ago, so I had to take some time to fine tune it. It looks pretty decent. You know what I mean? If the audio and video quality is good, hit 1. If the audio and video quality is good, hit 1. Okay. I want to say shout out to the family in the building that follows me on Clubhouse. I was on a session earlier today. Wasn't my session. I was in a session I was pinged in, so I joined the room and chatted in the room a little bit and shared some information, received some information, because it's all about the cycle, right? I don't know everything, but what I try to do is inspire people to contribute to the dialogue by bringing information, vantage points, and perspectives that is unique, that they may have considered before, and things that they glossed over, right? Blow it up, right? Blow those small details up, put it in front of them and say, hey, look, check this out, So it's been pretty good on Clubhouse so far. Again, there's informative groups. There's groups that's not really saying not much. I actually seen a debate earlier today. Well, I was going on Saturday now with Mace. It's funny, man. It's really interesting. I joined a couple of his rooms I was invited to. I didn't get a chance to speak on his stage yet, but we'll see. Jordan's Cadet, yes, I'm using an external mic. I have the Elgato face cam. That's the new camera that I ordered. And I had the Elgato Wave 1. I think it's the Wave 1 or Wave 3 condenser microphone. All right, so that's where I upgraded it to. Y'all saying that everything looks good. Okay, that's great. No, I never use a built-in webcam on a laptop. That is the worst thing you do. Matter of fact, the laptop that I do have, which is the MSI GE 76 series TMI special edition. TMI. It's really interesting because it has this ancient Near Eastern vibe etched into the laptop. That has a 1080p 30 frames per second webcam built in, but even that is still subpar. So we're waiting for the technology and laptops to catch up with at least cell phones, which has better cameras than it does. But no, this is a Elgato face cam. It has a Sony sensor in it. Has a large aperture. Pulls in a lot of good light. As you can see, the frame rate is very fluid, which I like about it. And it has a wide capture space too. I think it's over 100 degrees because there's a wide lens on it. Good depth of field. Now, again, because we're still streaming, it's not going to be perfect, but I think it's really good for what I'm looking for. All right. Yes. Get wise. That's what I'm talking about. Mason Betha. All right. Or Murder Mace is what he used to be called back in the day. But now he's passed to Mason. He's pastoring out here in Atlanta. One day I'm going to go visit his church and film that experience. I'm going to request to have a discussion with him and sit down with Pastor Mace. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't. Song of Judah, I don't. I wish I did. That would be a blessing. Actually, it'd be a curse. The more you know, the more you realize how much you don't know, and the more aware you are of things that you didn't know before. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that could be a scary experience. Sometimes it could be an empowering experience. It just depends on the situation. All right. Jordan's Cadet feels like that, right? So I love my YouTube family. I'll be over there in Clubhouse now. Clubhouse has stolen me away from y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? But I'm coming back. You know what I'm saying? And Cage behind the scenes stuff, trying to get in order is taking me away from you guys. But it's all for the benefit of the community, man. We have a lot of stuff on the table that we're working on, bringing on new admins and trying to provide opportunities for people to take care of their livelihood while doing ministry and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let me go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and share this link. Do me a favor, y'all, if you're coming in and enjoying so far, hit the thumbs up. Coming in, join so far, hit the thumbs up. We're gonna cover some stuff today. All right, now I promise today. I don't know if I'm a promise, but we'll see. I'm going to sidestep the trolls. I want this to be a troll-free session for the most part. On the corner end, if the trolls are still awake and they're still trolling at 2 in the morning, 1:30, 2 in the morning, and they still want that work, we'll let them on for a little bit, give the trolls a little bit of time, air out their grievances and go in. But a lot of the trolls, they don't come in sincerity. They're not, a lot of times they're not fully authentic. There's something they want to prove or correct. And I just say, hey, why don't y'all just set up your own platforms? Like, why are you here? I don't know why you're here. Why are you here? You know what I'm saying? But the trolls, they're faithful, man. You know, they're faithful. And if they wasn't trolls, man, I would love to have them on my team. You know what I'm saying? Because they're committed. I mean, they are committed. Okay, more than a lot of people that I know. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the trolls, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all help the numbers for this channel. Y'all allow a lot of teaching moments. You know what I'm saying? A lot of edification moments. You know, we appreciate y'all. You know what I'm saying? Dedicated, definitely. Devoted. Some of them are obsessed with me. I don't know. They like seeing me on their TV screen every night. I don't understand that. I mean, if I don't like somebody, I don't want to see them on my computer screen, on my TV screen, on my phone. Why am I doing that? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, so they obviously are getting something from this channel, right? And a lot of times they get sour because they say, I reached out to you. I'm like, well, I reached out to you. But anybody that's known me can attest that, you know, it's difficult to get a hold of me. And when you do get a hold of me, I give you a quality interaction. But I can't promise you that I can be available all the time. I'm not always going to be able to respond to every email, every inbox message. And it's not because I don't want to. It's because it's extremely difficult and challenging. If I spent all my time responding to messages, I would probably never be on here. I would never have anything to teach. I would have no time to do anything else, you know, because on top of getting calls every day that I take and then going through emails, inbox messages, now I'm on Clubhouse. I'm getting a whole bunch of messages on there and I don't mind the messages. It's just that it takes me some time to get through them. And as soon as I get through a batch, I have a whole another load that's coming in, right? So that's why I say a lot of questions that people ask, a lot of them are answered, you know, through these Freestyle Fridays. They can come on here, ask questions. I'll do my best to address it and or sign up to the Clubhouse room, right? And you can get some information that way or sign up for the Patreon, right? I have tons of content on Patreon. Matter of fact, some of the content I'm going to go over now, I'm going to throw up on the Patreon, right? So you can get it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's why the Patreon is there. It is the after party for these sessions, right? And a lot of your questions can be answered if you commit yourself to read. I know some people may not have the bandwidth of time to read as much, and that's why I gave you a method. I said, look, all the books that we have on Patreon, take a screenshot of the cover, take a screenshot of all the book of the list of contents, right? And then what you want to do with those lists of contents is highlight and tag them. And what you want to do is whenever there's a theme that you want to get into, check the books out, look at the table of contents. And if it has content in it that pertains to what it is that you're reading, jump right into that and read and consume that, right? And you can always get back to the rest of the book at another time. All right. So these are just thoughtful ways on how to get things done. And again, like I said, the answers are there. You know, I do my best to address my Patreon inbox as much as I can. My emails, my social media inbox, Clubhouse messages now. So it takes some time. So if somebody gets disgruntled because I don't get back to them, they got to understand I'm not doing that purposely. I'm not just ignoring you. Remember, I work too. I have a family. I have other things going on, you know, but there are a lot of people that I interface with that say they understand. And I appreciate those who do understand, you know, and again, I'm a work in progress. KHM is a work in progress. What we're trying to do has not been done before. It's been attempted. But you got to understand at a think tank level to get things accomplished that I mentioned across the screen takes a lot of work, energy and effort. And we're working right now mostly with volunteers that we give stipends to. So we don't have nobody on full time to do a lot of this stuff. And I would love to do that, but it requires for us to, you know, bring on more members, to get more upstart capital, through our membership dues and other fundraising and things like that, and put it towards more projects, programs, etc. I just want to create opportunities for everybody around me to eat. You know what I'm saying? For them to feed their family, take care of themselves, and give them an opportunity to translate all this deep stuff that they're learning into real world applicable solutions for societal ills that's experienced in the community day to day, right? Because your teachings is only as good as the application. The knowledge sounds good, but if you can't apply it, then what good is it? You understand? All right. So what I'm going to do right now, give me a second. I'm going to share this link. And again, I need y'all to help me share this link. Share this link, family. Share this link so that way I have less work to do and I can get right to y'all. But I got to share the link now because I have to get it across certain groups on Facebook so we can bring more people in the house. You guys can save me some time by assisting and doing it yourself. All right, I'm gonna get through our shout outs like we always do. I always pay homage to people that come in here. Without you guys, I will be nothing. All right, I would be nothing without you guys. I'm here to serve as best as I can. You know what I'm saying? And continue to stay in servitude of the people, strengthened by the Most High. Give me a second. Okay. And I'm going to grab this. All right, so family, I'm assuming everything is okay. Also, next week we want to start, and this is to our KHM members that are watching this right now. Next week we want to start setting up appointments to meet with all of our groups and our teams in KHM, with the leaders of the team, so we can go over initiatives, go over progress, setbacks, challenges, how we overcoming it. So I'm gonna address our 6 major groups in the organization, and we're gonna chat, because there's some stuff we got to get in order, some stuff we got to expedite, we got to improve in a lot of different areas. All right, so I definitely want to chat with the team, and if you want to join our team, go back and check out one of our KHM chapter launch meetings. We have presentations I do at each one of these chapter launches, and you can see what we're working with and what we're trying to accomplish. Okay. Let me see. Hold on one second. Let us share this link. All right. Okay, give me 1 second. My bad. Can y'all hear me? Shoot. Is that better? Okay. So you didn't hear me. That's okay. That's good because I was taking time to share the link. But anyway, I was saying that for the video that I put on the channel, the video that was on the channel was about the coronavirus COVID-19. I did that session with our naturopathic eating consultant group. And also we sent the link out to everybody that had the app. So I decided to premiere it on the channel so y'all can get a taste of it, see if you liked and enjoyed it. And then now that video is now being restricted to the Patreon. So if you have Patreon, you can go back and watch the replay. All right. I left it up for several hours after it premiered. So, you know, people can take a look at it and watch it. And you can get some suggestions on what to do as a means of prophylaxis or preventive medicine to kind of fortify yourself for the onslaught of coronavirus. And if you do have it, how to cope with it. Right. We give suggestions on how to do that. All right. So hopefully you guys liked and enjoyed that. For the time it was up. For those of you on the Patreon, you can go back and check it out. And let's see. I'm glad you enjoyed it, my brother Elkham Barlow. Now, again, I was trying my best to be as less technical as possible. So I had to consider a lot of stuff I was saying. I had to talk very slow. And hopefully it helped somebody. You know what I'm saying? We tried to cover a lot of bases here. To Gabar, I don't wear contact lenses. I actually got really good vision. But these are the blue light blockers. All right. Decided to wear them. I guess sometimes wearing glasses make you look smart. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I have them on. I typically wear them if I'm going to do heavy use at the computer. I just decided to keep them on and didn't take them off. So no, it is what it is, right? So again, hopefully you enjoyed that session. The ones who did watch it, again, is be on the Patreon. We're going to put the video up soon. I'm also going to start posting on the Patreon a lot of our Clubhouse sessions. I'll do some sessions I'll release to YouTube. Other sessions I'll restrict to Patreon. And again, the Patreon, man, we have so much content on there. Like so much content on the Patreon, man. It's tons of content on there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm glad y'all can hear me now and everything's good. Again, as y'all coming in, hit the thumbs up button. If you're brand new, hit the subscribe button. All right. And make sure you share this video everywhere. Share this video everywhere. All right. All right. So, yeah, funny, man. So Lady W, so you can get them from Amazon. You can get them from Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, Target. You just got to look for blue light blockers, right? Blue light blocking glasses. That's it. They also double as sunglasses. And pretty much what they do is they shift the tint over to warm, which is like a beigeish color because the harmful light spectrum is towards the cooler side of the blue light. So when you wear these lenses, they filter the blue light into the warm spectrum of things and protect your eyes from fatigue and damage over time. Okay. So those are the places you can get glasses from. So even if you use your phone intensely, tablet, whatever, some phones and tablets, the ones I have, they have a blue light filter feature. So you may have a phone with the blue light filter feature. Just search for it on your phone. If you don't have that, then you may want to grab one of these glasses. They even have contact lenses, right, that have blue light blocking as well, capability. So just do some research on it. All right. Alexander McCaskill says, can Clubhouse session be recorded? It can, but it can't be through Clubhouse. So you have to find other ingenious ways of recording Clubhouse sessions. So I'm trying to find the best method. The first session that I recorded that I'm putting up on the Patreon, you cannot hear the audience too clearly. You hear me very clearly. The audience, you don't hear them too clearly, but you can hear them. It's just not too clearly. So I'm trying to find different ways of recording those sessions so I can post it up because we unpacked a lot over the past couple of weeks on Clubhouse. And I don't want that content to be missed from our YouTube family, our Patreon family, and other social media family. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's see. All right, so I think we are primed to get started. So let me go ahead and give some shout outs for those of you who are here already. Again, family, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you share the video. All right, let me see who we all have in here as far back as I can go. Shout out to my brother Get Wise, Mr. James, Shalom, Aishu Cole, Luke 12:51, Truth, Shalom, Yapa, Kalaya, Kimberly M, Shalom. Let's see. Manika Williams, D Will, 876, Benjamin Israel, Devion Baker, Shalom, D Will, Shalom, Keisha Marshall, Shalom, Bergen Paris, Shalom, HaKodesh Management, Shalom, Jimmy Marshall, Shalom, Yedai, Hebrew Dre, Shalom, Jordan's Cadet, Shalom, Song of Judah, Shalom, Jetson Silencio, Shalom. Jetson Silencio, I have to reschedule my appointment with you, my brother. So please text that number. And the one that's going across the screen, and we'll try to figure out how we can reconvene. All right. I had a very busy day today and yesterday, so it was difficult for me to get to everybody. So if I did miss you, I apologize, but I got you. All right. Shout out to my brother Warfare Rebirth of a Nation. All right. So if you're ready, my brother, that's good. I want to try to get my brother Shema on the platform on Sunday, and after I get him out the way, then my brother Warfare Rebirth Formation, I'll probably try to do work with you next week. All right. I may be out of town next week though. So we'll see how that works. I should be back Sunday evening. So if you want to go Sunday evening, we could probably do it Sunday evening. Just let me know. All right. Shout out to my brother John and Dorsey. Shalom. Jalon Yisrael. Shalom. Elcom Barlow. Shalom. Sedaria Halliburton. Shalom. Sister Santawa. Shalom. Radiant One. Shalom. Shalom, sis. No problem, sis. I'm glad you was able to do that. Shout out to Nathan James, Shalisha Morgan, Shalom. Let's see, Jacolia's Gem, Shalom. Crowned Air, Shalom. Linda Rick, Shalom. Let's see, who else we got up in here? Yim Yahu, Dawid Ben Yochanan, Shalom. Alexander McCaskill, Shalom. King Sister V Love, Shalom. Danny L. Williams, Shalom. Emmanuel, Shalom. Yakub Shaul, Shalom. Lady W, Shalom. Elijah Israel, Shalom. Let's see who else we got. Rilo Brown, Shalom. Timothy Harris, Shalom. Yawasop, Son of Light, Shalom. The Eight Canada, Shalom. Let's see, Tony Lysite, Shalom. Scott Garrett Headley, Shalom. Let's see. V Brand, Shalom. King Mark Moore, Shalom. Nehemiah Ben Yasharal, Shalom. Peace. Torio, hashtag the Most High, Shalom. Kia William, Shalom. Sister Cheryl, Shalom. Hebrew for Life, Shalom. Stephanie Yosef, Shalom. So Stephanie Yosef says, how can I get in contact with the Toronto chapter? The Toronto chapter is not official yet because we have not touched down in Toronto yet. We're going to go to Toronto after London. So once we hit London up, then the next international stop is going to be Toronto. And then after that's done, then we're going to hit up South Africa, Yah willing, and then head to Egypt and Israel, right? We want to do that over the next year or so on top of getting more domestic chapters set up, all right? But again, like I said, it's a work in progress. Thank you for bearing with us. It's going to take some time for us to cover as much ground as we're attempting to do it, but we can only do it with your help and assistance. And we appreciate everything that you guys have done so far to enable us to get to this point, all right? We appreciate that. All right, so I'm about to get started. Anybody else that wants a last minute shout out, just hit one. If you're in the building, you want a last minute shout out, hit one. Make sure you guys are hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you hitting share, put this everywhere. And if you're brand new, hit the subscribe button and go back and check out the archives after this session is over. All right, so Shabbat Shalom to those of you who keep this Shabbat this evening into tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to those of you who keep the Sabbath another time. Shalom. I'm just appreciative that you guys are putting your best foot forward in regards to keeping these statutes, these laws, and these commandments, right? All right, so shout out to Smooth Vessel of Yod Hey Wav Hey Shalom. I think that's everybody for now. If I see a one, I'll give you a shout out. All right. So with that being said, yes. So Austin, Texas, I don't know. I would love to come there. Get wise. It just depends on how many people who tune into this channel are serious about getting involved in a community, then we can set that up there. All right. Yeti, Hebrew, Dre. No, I don't. I don't know what you mean by that, but if I think you mean what I think you mean, then no, I don't. Shout out to Black Advent and Building Shalom. So we can if you get enough bodies in Austin, Texas, then we make it happen. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of bodies in London. We got a lot of bodies in Toronto. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of bodies in Houston. You know what I'm saying? In New York. You know what I'm saying, in other places. So we try to go to the places that have the highest concentration, Detroit, Chicago, etc. So we don't want to overlook other cities, right? You know, we just he says come to Houston. Yeah, I guess you can make the drive and come to Houston, but we just want to go to the places that has the highest concentration of people who subscribe to KHM. And the best way for us to actually see these demographics is on the app. So if you don't have the app, go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store, go to the My One Church app, download it, install it, open it up. And then in the field, the zip code field, type 30064, hit enter. And then you'll see our Kingdom Harvest Ministries entry show up. Click on that. That's the gateway into our app. And then you can click on membership. You can check out events calendar. You can follow your social media handles on there. There's Bible software on there. There's lesson guides, all that stuff that's on there. All right. So that's another way for us to kind of assess to see where everybody's at. Shout out to my brother Alexander McCaskill, because I gave him the heavy responsibilities for overseeing our virtual chapter. So anybody that's not in our 10 physical cities will be in that virtual chapter. All right. We got to give him an admin, because that's a lot of people. We got almost 400 people in that group. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of people to manage and whatnot. So no, we don't have a chapter in Cleveland, Ohio yet, but we do want to touch down Ohio next month. I was thinking on Cleveland, Columbus, or Canton. But I think the highest concentration is in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. But y'all let me know, right? Let me know, you know, email me, let me know where y'all are at, inbox me, let me know where you're at. And the highest concentration of people there is where we will go. All right. All right. So make sure you guys get the app. Also on our Patreon, we've added new content on the Patreon. Let me show you again. I always show you almost every session about the content that we have on our Patreon, because I'm telling you, man, we continuously build on the Patreon. And remember, we have a giveaway set up. We're giving away a brand new $800 HP laptop once we hit 400 patrons on Patreon. So we want to unlock that and give away a computer, a laptop, $800 laptop to a student ages K to 12 or grade ranges K to 12. All right. Write a one-page essay on how being an Israelite and engaging in this culture has positively influenced your life and the lives of those around you. All right. So Jordan's Cassette says, will you open a chapter on Mars? Yes, at some point, if the people are there and they need us there, we will open up on Mars. We'll open up on the moon. We'll open up on any rock-based planet that we can go on if we have to bring this information to the people there, man. All right. He said Columbus is king of Ohio. All right. D will. Yes. So if you're at the diamond level, you get access to an Accordance paid software and Logos paid software. All you got to do is when you go to our page on Patreon, there's a search box. Just type in Accordance and type in Logos, or LOGOS ACCORDANCE, and you'll be able to see the posts for those softwares. You'll have the link to download the software. My credentials are there to log into the software, and then you can access everything that it has there. All right. So yes, at the diamond level, you have access to everything. Remember, at certain levels, we have the audio Bible, we have website access, we have behind the scenes. We're going to start Q&As on Patreon as well, right? Also, you can request for us to come to your city and do a lecture, right? If you're at the diamond level as well, right? And if I'm in your city, you can request a one-on-one with me. Go out to brunch or something, or go hang out, or whatever the case may be. So you have those advantages at the $100 diamond tier on Patreon. Right. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. All right. I went ahead and went back to the Patreon and I redid the benefits. All right. On the Patreon, I redid the benefits. So it's clearer as to what each benefit offers. All right. And at the diamond, platinum, the diamond is the $50. So yes, you get access to the software. The diamond, that's the one that enables you to be a KHM stakeholder. You get autographed memorabilia. You can get a free booking for me to speak, in your city. You also can schedule monthly consultations with me and everything else, right? So at the $100 platinum, you get access to that, but most of it is upon request. So you must request it, all right? You must request these things if you're interested in getting it, right? But I think the best level to be at is at the $20 or $50. The $100 platinums for those who are sold out for this ministry, want to get as much as they can from, what I share and what I have to offer. But I think the $20 and $50 tiers are the best places to get. Like $20 tier gets you the classes that we have coming up. The $10 tier, you don't get access to the classes at the $10 tier. The $20 tier, you can. $50 tier, you get that. Plus, you get DVD content that we upload, research website access to Syriac language courses. At the $20, you do get the biblical language courses. You do get access to a Bible study software. You do get the audio Bible experience. You get the Clubhouse session recordings at the $20. So again, it just depends on what you can afford to invest per month in the ministry and what we can give you back in return, right? There's tons of benefits. I'm going to show you on the screen right now so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to show you a lot of the new stuff that we posted on the Patreon, okay? All right, so here's your Emerald, Ruby, and Diamond class, right? And as you can see here at the $10, right, you get exclusive Patreon-only content, access to our digital library, to my article library, to the mixtapes and calendars, and other digital products that we offer, sneak peek photos and videos of upcoming releases and behind-the-scenes events that we put on there. One of them, an example of that is when we did our chapter launches, we put some behind-the-scenes on there. When I did the recording for the Karagma documentary, we put that on there. You also get 50% discount at paid events, which will start coming up in the fall, and 50% discount on paid live streams. Again, so paid events is a physical session that we're going to have, and the live stream, paid live streams are the lectures we're going to do. So I'm going to do some online, I'm going to do some in person, but you get a 50% discount for both of them. So if it's $10, you get it for $5, which will be the live streams. If it's the paid event, it might be $20, you get it for $10. All right, just for being a member of the Patreon. At the $20, you get more, right? You get a personalized thank you video message. If you want a video of me saying thank you personally, let me know, request it. You know what I'm saying? You get access to our Hebrew and Greek language courses, to our Bible study software at that level, to the audio experience, to the KHM Holistic Research Paradigm for Bible study classes, to the Clubhouse session recordings. You get access to all our PowerPoints. So if you went back and looked in the archives of any lectures that I have, if there's a PowerPoint, you get access to it. You get free access to paid live stream events. You get free entry into our paid events, and you get a 50% discount on paid merchandise, all paid merchandise. All right. When you get to the $50 level, you get free access to additional Bible study software. So we got 2 of them. I'm going to add even more. You get access to exclusive uploaded DVD content, which we have several, access to paid research sites, which we got several, access to a Syriac language course, which I recommend to people who really want to get into the New Testament to the closest you can to the Hebraic way of thinking, right? We have a course on there, so you can go back and look at one of my favorites, which is the Syriac Sinaiticus Palimpsest, the old Syriac Sinaiticus Palimpsest, all right? You get free access to our Patreon-only Q&A sessions that we're going to start launching as well. With the Q&A sessions, you also can request a Q&A video, right? And we can do that. The thing that I'm missing from here that I have to put on here is that, well, I'm not missing it because you get it with the Patreon-only content, is the Death to Dogma, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it again on there. I'm just going to be frank, blunt, and open. I can say whatever I want to say on a myriad of different topics. It may be Israelite-based, it may be current event-based, it may be personal-based, right? But you get to get that insight from me if you're interested in that, and I just talk about it. On the Death to Dogma, we're going to systematically parse out all the Judeo-Christian dogmas and doctrines and analyze them and evaluate them to see if they hold true faithfully to the text, to the culture, etc., and give you some insight into it. Those videos will be 30 minutes long, 30 minutes or less. They won't be extensive, but they'll give you enough information to give you a very stable footing and additional sources to do further investigation, okay? Also, you get a unique memorabilia item from us at the $50 mark upon request, free personalized shout outs and features in videos upon request. And if you have a business and you want to promote it on this channel at the $50 tier, we'll be able to promote your business at no additional cost. All right. Then you have the Gold class, where you get free merchandise and services upon request, and a free monthly gift from me at that level upon request. And at the $100, you're official KHM stakeholder, which means you can get involved in the decision-making processes of the organization, right? Anytime you request it, we'll share information with you. You can get insight into it, jump into our meetings, give some kind of suggestions and advice on the direction in which we're going. You can get autograph memorabilia upon request, a free booking for me to come and speak in your city, right? And you get scheduled monthly consultations upon request, and then all previous rewards. So these are the things, if you was breaking them down, that you can get, right, just by signing up for one of these tiers. And there's a ton of content and other stuff you can get, and a lot of stuff you just requested, right? So go back over, everybody who's a Patreon member, go back over this restructured benefits. And those of you who are new, check out the benefits and see if this is something that you want to partake in. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and check out the additional content that we have. All right. Let's go. Oh, I think the screen sharing dropped for a second. Let's see. All right. Yeah. So we have at this point, we're looking at 78, 80, 82, over 500 posts. All right. It says you unlocked 429 exclusive posts, and a lot of the other ones are public or other. So I added a new book called Grow Your Own Herbal Remedies. So if anybody's interested in growing their own herbal remedies at home, this book will walk you through it step by step. We also have Jewish funerary customs, practices, and rites in the Second Temple period, which is very interesting. I'm going to show that reference briefly when we go through the session on tonight. But if you want to read the entire book, which is a couple hundred pages long, this is an excellent source for that. Also, Black Jews, a Halakhic Perspective, which is an excellent article written by a rabbi out in New York, who is a board rabbi at various yeshivas. And he talks about the subject of Black Jews, right? Very, very insightful document that I think everybody should read. And is one that you can utilize when speaking with counterpart Jews, right? Who some call white Jews or Jews of Caucasian persuasion, right? Excellent article to share with them. Judaic threads in West African tapestry. So we have a theme with some posts that we're posting up about Black Jews, West Africa. And this is one of them, an article that is very interesting to see the quote unquote Judaic, that's what they call it, influence in West African tapestry, right? I have another book up here, Enoch, Jubilees, Jasher, Banned from the Bible. A lot of people have been asking me about these 3 books. This is an excellent book that gives you great background on it, and it gives you the actual text itself within the book. Awesome, awesome book that I released. Also, you know about the Encyclopedia of Grain Science. I ain't going to go into detail about it, but you need to go back and watch last Friday's Freestyle Friday session if you want to know why I posted that. You know what I'm saying? Also, Origin of the Yoruba and the Lost Tribes of Israel article that I posted up by Dirk Lange, and Semitic Association Affinities between Igbo culture and Israelite culture identified by G.T. Baston, 1921 CE, which again is part of our Black Jews, West African series, the giveaway, and a whole bunch of other stuff. All right. Igbo peoples, our common manners and customs as Hebrew peoples, excellent insight, and 491 other posts. All right. Tons and tons, hundreds of posts and content that we have on this page. So please take advantage of it if you're really serious about getting into this information. Shout out to Lance Vance in the building. I see you. Yes, I can see your comment. You're not blocked. All right. My brother Dwight Adams says your Patreon is one of the best investments I've ever made. Thank you so much for that, my brother. I appreciate that. Remember, this is not for the faint of heart. All right. If you're serious about your study and your research, there's nothing like this in the Israelite community. Right. And I can boast about that because I'm boasting to inspire others, right, to do the same. I've contributed hundreds of books to the library of our community, tons of articles, exclusive behind the scenes, website access, language courses. I'm just giving it up. I'm just offering it to community. It's comprehensive. All right. It's a life-changing. All right. Thank you so much, D. Will, for upgrading to the diamond. Like I said, you see all the benefits in there, and I know you're going to enjoy it. Shout out to Lamar in the building. I see you. All right. But like I said, the objective of what we do here is to equip you to empower yourself. We teach you the tools, the methodology, and the sources that you need to better your walk, right? So the things that people see me do, they may think it's fascinating, but I'm like, it's only fascinating because somebody has not given you the methodology, the tools, and the sources to perform the same interpretive work that I'm doing on the text. It's operative, right? It's like surgery. You have a whole bunch, you lay all your tools, right? And you know which tool to use to perform the surgery. Okay. So that's what it is that we're doing here. It's a different way that we're teaching. We're not just, you know, just giving you information, give you my opinion, saying some angel came to me and gave me this. No, we're teaching you how to fish for yourself instead of keep giving you the fish. See, the problem is that people that was following Yeshua only followed him to satisfy their stomachs. Well, they didn't realize that they had a spiritual deficiency that food cannot fill. And he only used the food as a means to keep them occupied and stationary so they can get the message. But if you keep chasing it to just secure your secular needs, then you're missing the essence of what's being conveyed and why. All right. All right. So Yirmyahu Dawid Ben Yochanan, that's an excellent question. I don't know if I'm going to answer it in depth today, but security party creditor, I used to be a fan of that. I'm not no more. I'm not a fan of that anymore. And if you want to know why, I'm probably going to save that for our Let's Talk About It. That'll be a good subject I'll share on Let's Talk About It. So sign up for the Patreon. $10 gets you into the door. And if you don't have $10, you can pledge at least $1 or $5, right? Even at $1, you still get access, right? $5, you still get access, right? But the Let's Talk About It, I'll address that, right? And in my journey into the realm of sovereignty, the sovereignty doctrine, and why I no longer hold to that doctrine, okay? And actually, I did a video touching on some of that, actually. I did a video on that. It wasn't just on that particular subject, but I touched on it in a video, all right? All right. Thank you so much. DB is Yah's miracle child. I'm 5 hours in before I realized it. Toda Rabah Aki. Anytime, my brother. Anytime, man. Shout out to Sister U Taylor 777 in the building. Shalom. All right. So that's the Patreon. I mentioned to you about the KHM app to sign in. I gave the shout outs like we typically do. You already know what it is. All right. So what we're going to do is transition from here. Now I'm going to touch on something and then open it up for Q&A. And then we're going to close out because I don't see any resident trolls here today. All praise to the Most High. I may say that and they may show up. I mean, you never know. This is Freestyle Friday. Anything can happen. Okay. But trolls, if you do come in here, just know that this is not going to be just a hot seat for Divine. We're going to engage together, which means as you scrutinize me, I will also scrutinize you. Right? Matthew chapter 7 says, judge not lest thee be judged. And for the same measure you meet on somebody will be measured back unto you. That's how we work. This is a two-way communication. It's not no interrogation room for me. I don't mind answering your questions, but you got to answer mine too, right? And please do not try to downplay my intelligence, right? Like, I'm not saying I'm the smartest person in the world, but if I speak on something, I'm confident that I'm aware about it, and I go from there. Yeti Hebrew Dre, yes, I told you I'm going to hell, right? That's my goal, to go to hell, report on it, and come back. You know what I'm saying? So I plan to go to hell soon. Okay. All right. So I'll probably live stream when I'm in hell too, because I think hell gets a lot of misconceptions about it. So I'm going to definitely live stream when I go to hell. And then when I come back, I'll probably do a video on it. You know what I'm saying? So so I'll let you know when I get to hell. All right. I'll let you know how it is. I'm gonna try to picnic down there too, you know. But we'll see what comes out. All right. All right. So with that being said, Sister V Love, she just gave y'all, free game. Amazon has blue light glasses in a range of prices from about $10. Yes. Now, the less expensive it is, the least amount of blue light it blocks. The more expensive it is, the more it blocks. It'll tell you the protection rating on it, right? So always look for the protection rating and do an analysis on that. All right. So what's my thoughts on how on how hell is taught? Actually, I think I'm about to show you something interesting. Did y'all see what the topic is for tonight? Did y'all see? I'm about to touch on some articles and give some exposition on those articles for you. All right. Yeah, Seth, I'm going to hell. That's what I said. I'm going to hell. I'm gonna picnic there if I can, take some pictures, shoot some footage, come back and edit it and upload it for you guys. All right. Because I think it gets a bad rep sometimes. So I want to make sure people see me in hell. All right. And y'all can meet me there too. If y'all want to meet me in hell, you definitely can. I'll let you know in advance when I get there. And if anybody wants to commute to the Levantine region and meet me in hell, you definitely can. You don't need gasoline draws, right? When you go to hell. Some people say that a lot. And from what I've seen and people report it back to me, I haven't seen no devils with pitchforks sticking people there either. Yirm Yahu Dawi Ben Yochanan. Yes, that's exactly where we're going. All right. Yes, Daniel Goof, you can do that as well. If you guys can't get the glasses, you do have a blue filter within your settings on your PC. Also, your monitor also should have those settings as well. All right. All right. Yes. He said it. You coming back with a new name like Scorpion. So those of you who don't know what that is, if you've seen the new Mortal Kombat movie, which I thought was pretty decent, it wasn't the greatest movie, but I thought it was pretty decent. That's what he's hinting at. Okay. So look at this. My cultural background study Bible just came in. It's deeper and has more information than I could have imagined. Highly recommended. That's this study Bible right here. People always say, oh, where do I start? Where do I start? You got to get this. This is where you start. Learn the culture. When you learn the culture, you do not have to eisegete the passage. It fills in a lot of blanks when you learn the culture, right? So when people start making these comparisons, correlations, you say, I already know about that. I already know about that. All right. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and continue on. And again, based on what you mentioned, I'm going to get into the subject matter and then we can go from there. All right. All right. I'm glad you got that as well, Nathan. Cool. So again, family, what we do here, we equip you to do study for yourself, man. You ain't got to wholly rely on no moray. And the reason why people come back here after we give them the tools, the methodology, and so forth, because there's new things that we're uncovering here, right? We're trying to be on the cutting edge of this community, you know, and be the first reporters of information, publishers of information that, you know, before KHM has been unknown to the community, you know what I'm saying? And trying to make it common in the community and raise the status quo. Right? You can only do that if you teach people how to teach themselves, right? That's why we're here. All right. All right. So let's get into the subject matter. So a very interesting thing is that recently on Patreon, I got an inbox for somebody asked me about COVID-19. So I did the video and I shared it with the brother that asked me, and I'm not going to say his name, but I shared with him actually. And then another brother told me that he had a family member who died and he wanted information on burial customs, right? Ancient Israelite burial customs. So I gave him a short summary in an email and I sent him sources so that way he can look into it himself. Right now, being that this family member had died recently, I don't know if he's going to have enough time to employ anything. However, at least he is educated on it. So in a future event, if somebody else does pass who identifies as an Israelite, we understand. Now, here's something that I think may be a little controversial, okay? And I want to get into this and I want to talk about this, right? So when it comes to dealing with ancient Israelite burial customs, there's a process, all right? We're going to touch on some of that today, and I'm going to show you something very interesting. And again, these articles will be available on Patreon. Now, cremation. Okay, so cremation is heavy. Should you be cremated? Should you get cremated if you're an Israelite, right? Should you get cremated if you're Israelite? Now, if you're a non-Israelite, doesn't matter. You're going to do whatever you're going to do anyway, so forth. Like, for example, my grandmother identifies as a Christian. Ethnically, we will call her Israelite, but she identifies as a Christian. But my family made the decision to cremate her because it was more convenient to do that than everything else, right? So they made a decision to cremate her. Now, as an Israelite, should you get cremated? Now, I can't tell you yes or no, right? There's no prohibitions against it in the scriptures. However, there are some things to take into account, and I'm going to go into that with y'all in a moment, right? But learning the burial customs is going to get you closer to the cultural paradigm that the text is offering. And then once you look into it further, you'll see a lot of interesting stuff. I'm going to touch on some stuff for these articles, you know, that I've had for some time. And I just reread them so that way I can get into this with you guys. You're going to learn some interesting stuff. You want to get into those burial customs and concepts behind that. All right. All right. So facts. He says, get the cultural background study Bible if you're ready to throw away the dogma that you learned. I don't know if people are ready for that. Everybody may not be ready for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Everybody may not be ready for that, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. So Yvette Powell says, should it matter? The spirit returns to the Most High. The spirit does return to the Most High, but what about your nefesh? What about your soul? All right. So like in ancient Egypt, you had the ka and the ba, right? Which is your soul and your spirit. All right. And your soul and your spirit, in order for it to unite in the afterlife, the body must be preserved. Hence why you have the upper class, the noblemen and the kings and queens undergo the process of mummification. Okay. In Israelite times, a proper burial is a way to maintain, check it out, passage to what we will call the abode of Yah, right? Now, our permanent abode is meant to be here on the earth. The earth was created for man, right? So no matter where your nefesh is at temporarily, if you are resurrected, as we see in Daniel chapter 12. And also that's mentioned if you subscribe to the New Testament, the book of Revelation, and other epistles in the New Testament, or even in the book of Isaiah, you'll see that there is a resurrection that's pending. Someone's going to be resurrected to eternal life. Someone's going to resurrect to contempt and utter destruction. All right. So the key thing is, what was the viewpoint in regards to being gathered with your ancestors? What state does the body have to be in order for you to be gathered with your ancestors? Understanding the burial customs of ancient Israel. So we're going to touch on a little bit on that tonight for maybe about another 30 minutes or so. We're going to open up to a few Q&As and we're going to go from there. Shout out to my brother Mendez in the building. He says, what version is that? This is the NIV version, but I also have the New King James Version. The NIV, remember, is a dynamic equivalency translation, meaning that the translators said we're going to translate the original text into the English as much thought for thought as possible, which means if a thought is conveyed and we can find a correlating thought in English, that's how it's going to be translated as opposed to word for word. And a word for word translation, which would be your New King James Version, is a word for word, which means the translators attempt to translate the text word for word as much as possible while maintaining English syntax. All right, which is important. Right. All right. So that's what this is, my brother. Hopefully this helps you. All right. Yes, Nathan. And that's the goal. I'm glad that it impacted you and others, because that's why I do it. Right. I want people to really research and study, because some people get bored with the Bible. I don't see how you can get bored with the text. I can see you can get bored if you don't know how to study it properly. Of course you can get bored. You just read it like a novel, whatever. Every passage has so much depth. It's remarkable. You can give me any passage and I can show you the depth of that passage. Just one passage. So to me, it's like almost nigh impossible to get bored with the text. There's just so much content in there, and there's small details that are typically glossed over that we bring to the surface for further research, right? It's fully comprehensive. Beginners could do it. Advanced experts can do it. Moderates, intermediates can do it. But we just give you so much to dive in. It's just like there's never a dull moment when it comes to learning about your culture, restoring it, and reconstructing and restoring it to apply it, to have more close-knit communities that agree upon it. And then out of that springs forth your autonomy or self-governance of our own social affairs, which is the key. And that's why we learn this information. All right. We try to restore these things. So when we tell you about the burial customs, I want to show you some stuff in there. All right. So before I begin, I want to show you something very interesting. Let me bring up my screen. Give me 1 second. I'll bring it up on the screen and I'll share it with y'all. Just give me 1 second. Oh, wait. Before we do that, I want to show you something in regards to current affairs, right? Or current events. So when I share this, just remember, a lot of times I don't speak in depth on this because, again, the Let's Talk About It show, I'll talk more on these because it won't be aired publicly on YouTube for me to get a strike or something against it, because I'm talking very frankly. All right. This will only be available on Patreon, and you'll get my unfiltered thoughts on various subject matters. All right. Like I said, it may be Israelite in nature. It may be current events in nature. It may be personal in nature, or whatever the case may be. All right. It will be unfiltered and it will be raw and uncut. Right. And this way I can do it by allowing you to see the videos, right, on a hidden shared folder on my cloud storage, so you can get access to this archives of content. Now, the content, you will not be allowed to download it. You can only stream it, because I don't want this data to show up on YouTube and get flagged or whatever the case may be. This is only for my patrons. Okay. All right. But I'm going to touch on something. Let me show you this before I get started. I almost forgot, but I want to read something to you that I think is important. Check this out. All right. Check this out. And y'all let me know what you think about it. Check this out. Hold on. Where is it at? Let me do this. All right. Okay. All right. Hopefully y'all can see the screen and y'all know what's going on with this coronavirus situation, vaccination. I want y'all to see something very important. All right. I want to go through this with y'all. All right. Now, the lecture that I did on coronavirus was not the comprehensive one that I initially planned to do late last year, early this year. That one I'm still working on. However, so many developments has come out. I had to keep going back and revising the lecture. You know what I'm saying? At least with this part, I got out all the basics to know about the virus and some dietary recommendations. However, there's a whole section that needs to be touched on in regards to vaccines and things that are going on. But I want you to see this. It says federal law prohibits employers and others from requiring vaccination with the COVID-19 vaccine distributed under an EUA. Emergency use authorization. Here's the key thing. Your Pfizer, your Moderna, your Johnson & Johnson. Are these vaccinations under the FDA emergency use authorization? Because if it is not a licensed vaccination, and therefore it cannot be mandated. And it's still in the investigative phase. Okay, so let me give you more details on this. And again, I haven't really seen too many people lead this out. Luke 12:51, I wholeheartedly agree with you. People don't want to know the history of the culture. They just want to get the text, personalize it, eisegete it, and feel good and go to bed at the end of the day. And you cannot do that if you properly want to interpret the text, all right? But check it out. We're going to go in, right? So let's see this. And if you're not familiar with STAT, it is a reputable source, okay? But let's keep reading. Check it out. Let me show you something. Look at this. Even though the FDA granted emergency use authorizations for the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna vaccines in December 2020, the clinical trials the FDA will rely upon to ultimately decide whether to license these vaccines are what? Still underway and are designed to last for approximately 2 years to collect the adequate data. So this is going to continuously be checked. You gotta see what's going on behind the scenes. They need at least 2 years to collect adequate data to establish if these vaccines are safe and effective enough for FDA to license. Are y'all listening to this? The abbreviated timelines for the emergency use applications and authorization means there is much the FDA does not know about these products, even as it authorizes them for emergency use, including their effectiveness against asymptomatic infection, death, and transmission of SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes this disease. Given the uncertainty about the two vaccines, their EUAs are explicit that each is an investigational vaccine, not licensed for any indication, and require that all promotional material relating to the COVID-19 vaccine clearly and conspicuously state that this product has not been approved or licensed by the FDA, but has been authorized for emergency use by the FDA. Emphasis added. Now, family, let's take a step back for a second. All right? Take a step back for a second. How many times do you see this disclaimer show up when they talk about vaccines? I'm about to show you the FDA paperwork on this. We don't play games with this, man. We don't play games with this. The research we do here is on a different level. We don't play games with this, right? So when somebody deals with you and tries to force you to get a vaccine, just like they attempt, the states cannot mandate it. They cannot mandate you to take a vaccine. Now, again, I'm not telling you don't take a vaccine. I'm just saying you cannot be mandated. However, they can make life very uncomfortable. And that can lead you to take the vaccine, but they cannot enforce it because these vaccines are not licensed. You saw what happened with the Johnson & Johnson? It was pulled off the market because of the blood clot situation, and then they put it back on the market. EUA. When you go to get vaccine, they say, hold up, is this vaccine under EUA? Yes. Oh, okay, I'm going to pass on that. Well, why? You read this to them. Or you bring out the FDA paperwork, what I'm about to show you, and read it to them. Okay, all right. All right. Brandon Blackwell says, nah, bro, tell them not to take the vaccine. No, I'm not going to say that. Because if I say that, this video is not going to be up once it finished airing. I'm not telling nobody what to do. I'm not your primary care physician. So I'm not going to tell you to get vaccine. I'm not going to say that. I'm not here to pose as a medical expert, even though I know a lot about allopathic medicine, just like I know a lot about naturopathic medicine, but I am not an expert. Therefore, I'm not giving you expert advice. I'm giving you advice as a secondary researcher on this stuff, and I'm just simply showing you what's out there. Now, check it, y'all. Check it. Matter of fact, I'm going to share this link in the chat. Please read this, family. Share it with everybody. All right. If you want to give me credit for sharing it, no problem. If you don't, it's okay. I don't care. I simply want people to get the information. Now, look, let's keep going. I'm not done. Let's keep going. Check it out. EU ways are clear. Getting these vaccines is voluntary. I just seen Governor Cuomo's state of address to the state of New York in regards to vaccinations. And if you watch it, it's 30-something minutes. It's on his YouTube channel. All right. He has a whole thing at the beginning. He said, this is my opinion. He put the word opinion up there because he cannot mandate you to take the vaccine. Your job cannot mandate you. However, now they're putting pressure on this is New York now, putting pressure on healthcare workers that you have to take it, putting pressure on first responders, you have to take it, people that work for the subway systems, the PATH, MTA, they mandating have to take it. They're telling businesses, please mandate this. So you have to, even the mask is a recommendation by the CDC. They cannot mandate it. Now, I'm not saying, just go back and look it up. And I'm not telling you don't wear masks. I'm not telling you don't get the vaccines. Hey, for the record, I'm not saying this, YouTube. All right, CDC. All right. I'm not telling the WHO. I'm not telling people don't do this. I'm simply giving them the fine print that is not highlighted in the media. That's all. The same section of the, check it out. The same section of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act that authorizes the FDA to grant emergency use authorization also requires the Secretary of Health and Human Services to ensure that individuals to whom the product is administered are informed of the option to accept or refuse administration of the product. Family, this is all documented by the FDA. Do you understand? Shout out to Moshe the Hebrew. He says, book, chapter, verse about vaccines. If none, you better go get vaccinated. I'm not sure what you mean about that, my brother, but thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. But look, we're going to keep reading. Check it out. It says, likewise, FDA's guidance. And again, you just click the hyperlink and it takes you right to what they're talking about. You see this? This is what I'm about to show you soon. But before I get there, because, you know, we got receipts for everything. Wait. Likewise, the FDA's guidance on emergency use authorization of medical products requires the FDA to ensure that recipients are informed to the extent practicable, given the applicable circumstances, that they have the option to accept or refuse the EUA product. In the same vein, when Dr. Amanda Cohn, the executive secretary of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, was asked if COVID-19 vaccination can be required, she responded that under EUA, vaccines are not allowed to be mandatory. So early in this vaccination phase, individuals will have to be consented and they won't be able to be mandatory. Are y'all listening to this? I didn't make this up. This is not my opinion. I'm telling you the facts. This is why they got to give you free Metro cards in New York and debit cards and tickets, because they can't mandate it, but they can entice you. They can dangle it right over you. Say, hey, we give you a Metro card if you get this vaccination, because they cannot mandate it. That's it. If you choose not to participate in the conveniences of society, you're good. If you live in off-the-grid homesteading, you good. If you live an introverted life, you good, because you're not going to sporting events and bars and all of that other stuff. You cooking at home, making your own food, right? Chilling in front of your computer, making money, working from home. You don't got to engage in the system. So some people can afford to do that. Others have to engage. But all I'm simply showing you is what's out there. I'm not making this up. All this is documented on the FDA's website. And I'm going to show it to you. Like I said, we got receipts for everything, man. The EUA for both the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna vaccines require fact sheets. Do y'all ask about that before you get vaccinated? To be given to vaccination providers and recipients. These fact sheets make clear that getting the vaccine is optional. For example, the one for recipients states that it is your choice to receive or not to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. And if you decide to not receive it, it will not change your standard of medical care. If you refuse it, they still have to give you the same standard of medical care. Family, don't argue with them. Cite this information. You don't got to argue with nobody. Just cite it. This is on record. Ask them, hey, where's that insert for me, the recipient? Can you take that out and read that? Yeah, because you was trying to kind of like, you know, in a funny way, subtle way, deny me. Now you can't do that. And if you attempt to do that, then we're going to bring a lawsuit against you. Okay. When the FDA grants emergency use authorization for a vaccine, many questions about the product cannot be answered. Given the open question, when Congress granted the authority to issue EUAs, it chose to require that every individual should be allowed to decide for himself or herself whether or not to receive an EUA product. The FDA and CDC apparently consider this fundamental requirement of choice important enough that even during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, they reinforced that policy decision when issuing their guidance related to the COVID-19 vaccines. How come they're not throwing this in your face, family? This is a requirement by law that they have to show you. Check it out. I went into Walgreens one day, because they have the setup for the vaccination and testing and all of that. And I went in there and I said, hey, what if I wanted to get a COVID-19 shot? What do I do? What do I need? Oh, you just let us know your medical information and, A, B, and C, healthcare. Oh, okay, cool. And I said, that's it? Yeah. And then we just signed you up and give you a shot. And I'm saying, wait, aren't you supposed to give me an insert about information I need to know? Isn't this under EUA? Yeah. So therefore, it's not mandated, right? Yeah. Therefore, I have an option to not choose it. But if I want some other kind of medical care from you, have to provide it, right? Yeah. Yeah. And just start citing stuff from the FDA's website, or print out the document I'm about to show you and just show it to them. That's it. Why are you fighting, arguing with people when they got this stuff on record? This is not a secret. So does having a 501c3 disallow one to speak against the current healthcare system? No. It only disallows you to speak on political matters. Okay? It has a political gag order attached to it based on Lyndon B. Johnson, his concern about the church getting involved with political affairs. In order for the church to have a tax-exempt status, one of the things is you have to stay out of political. You can't vouch for a political candidate. You can't push people to vote for a political candidate. You cannot have a political stance in regards to something that's going to sway voters either this way or that way, or certain political hot topics you cannot highlight in a sense where it's drawing attention to a particular candidate. You have to avoid that. That is what a 501c3 in the fine print of your tax exempt status and that provision, that's what it states. But you can't speak about healthcare. You can. However, you'll get censored by social media, right? We'll give you a pop-up saying, no, if you want to know more about the COVID-19, click here. I mean, that's just what it is. I'm just showing y'all what it is. All right. All right. So he says, does this work for people who work for the government as federal employees? Yes, it does. This is the law. This is FDA's law. This is their rule, their policy about EUA. It does. Just show it to them. Now, again, I'm not saying this is going to change their stance and how they deal with you, but you simply have to cite it. Write a paper up and cite it. And say, look, this is why I don't want to take the vaccine. Again, I'm not telling nobody don't take the vaccine. I'm saying if you don't want to take it, don't argue conspiracy theories. Cite from the horse's mouth. That's it. Okay. All right. All right. So let me back off. Also, another concern. Oh, wait. Let me show you. Let me show you this. Hold on. Let me show you this. All right, let me show it to you. All right. Hold on one second. Because we got to show you the receipts, right? Okay. Because there'll be some people out there say, you pseudo. I'm pseudo for reading the truth. Okay, you can say what you want. So check it out. This is from fda.gov/media/142749/download. I'm going to drop the link in the chat so you can immediately download this for yourself. Here you go. See, we don't do conspiracy theories over here. For what? Why do we have to do conspiracy theories when we just simply read and investigate? You ain't got to do conspiracy theories. There's the link right there. All right. So let's go ahead and read it. Because also you sign a waiver too. There's a reason why you sign a waiver. But we're not going to get into that. Here's the document right here. Okay. This is the emergency use authorization for vaccines to prevent COVID-19 guidance for the industry. Document issued on May 25th, 2021. This document supersedes the guidance of the same title issued on February 22nd, 2021 and October 2020. So they continuously update this. This one is, I believe, the latest, if I'm not mistaken, from May 2021. But what I want you to see is a couple of things here, right? Let me zoom in so you guys can see it a little better. There we go. All right. Let's jump down to page 7. All right. Let me go to page 7 real quick. All right. Page 7 says, check it out, a description. So anybody, any company pushing to get EUA. Now remember, with EUA, there was money, billions of dollars set aside to pay these pharmaceutical companies to create a vaccine. They never really turned a profit per se. They're eating off of the money they got from the US government, right? They have to at some point turn a profit. In order to do that, your vaccine has to be licensed. Okay. Now, until it gets licensed, you have to have at least 2 years worth of data in the field. Now, remember, this is the mRNA vaccine, which is different from the traditional vaccines that has they call it a killed vaccine, where the actual pathogen is killed or attenuated, where it's weakened, right? That's what Johnson & Johnson has put forth. But for Moderna, Pfizer, right, they have an mRNA vaccine, which is completely different. The reason why there's a heavy push is because they need a massive amount of data to validate that their vaccine is safe. So that way they have enough information to push for a license. Check it out. A description of the product's FDA approval status. FDA recognizes that as of the date of publication of this guidance, there are no licensed COVID-19 vaccines. Whether the product is under investigational application, if an IND is in effect or has been submitted, whether the product is approved in a foreign country for either the proposed use or another use, and information on the use of the medical product by either a foreign country or an international organization. The submission of the EUA request should include a brief summary of the related submissions to the FDA and indicate which ones were cross-referenced in a letter to this file. If you keep reading, it goes into the regulations for chemistry, manufacturing, and controls, which you should be checking before you get it, by the way, because it has to be sustained at a particular temperature in order for it to be effective. And you got to look at the stabilizing ingredients that's actually in the vaccines. That's something you just go look. The facilities in which it's maintained and the facilities in which it was created. Safety and effectiveness information. The EUA request should include the following safety and effectiveness information, which will inform FDA's determination regarding the product's benefit risk profile. FDA acknowledges potential use to request an EUA for a COVID-19 vaccine based on an interim analysis of a clinical endpoint from a phase 3 efficacy study. Insurance of an EUA requires a determination that known and potential benefits of the vaccine outweigh the known and potential risks. For a preventive COVID-19 vaccine to be potentially administered to millions of individuals, including healthy individuals, data adequate to inform an assessment of the vaccine's benefits and risks and support issuance of an EUA would include not only meeting the pre-specified success criteria for the study's primary efficacy endpoint as described in the guidance for the industry entitled Development and Licensure of Vaccines to Prevent COVID-19, right? It says a point estimate for placebo-controlled efficacy trial of at least 50%, but also additional safety and effectiveness data as prescribed below. The timing of interim analysis planned for a phase 3 study would thus ideally be aligned with the ability of the analysis to meet these criteria. If you know anything about clinical trials, phase 3 is not the end of the story. But I'm gonna let you keep reading that. I'm gonna let you read this on your own time. I don't want to dive too much into this, okay? Because then people are gonna be saying all types of stuff. But I'm simply giving you something from the FDA website. How is this conspiracy theory? It cannot be. It's from the FDA themselves. Vaccine safety and COVID-19 outcomes in individuals with prior SARS-CoV-2 infection who might have been asymptomatic are important to examine because screening for prior infection is unlikely to occur prior to the administration of COVID-19 vaccines under EUA. Please take that into account. An EUA request should therefore include subgroup analysis of safety and efficacy endpoints stratified by prior infection status at study entry as determined by pre-vaccination serology or medical history. Are they doing all of this stuff? That's neither here nor there. All right. The receipts is in the chat. The receipts will be in the description box below. All right. All right. I'm done. Oh man, Boom Shakalaka is back. Man, you just can't win with her, man. I don't know what's going on. You just can't win with her. She's saying you enjoy talking over the people's head. How? I just read an article that simplified what I just finished reading. Were you there when I was reading that article? Are you saying that people here can't comprehend what I'm saying. I summed it up in the article. I'm giving you the official document that's referring back to the article. I don't know what's going on. So yes, Kemetic Hebrew, it does not have gelatin as a stabilizer in the vaccine ingredients. So you are correct about that. All right. The FDA is not God booming out of heaven. They can lie too. Okay. So you're right. Lynn loves ya. I'm gonna ignore the nonsense. I'm gonna keep it moving. All right. Yeah, the Hebrew said, Maz, where's your block game? All right. So I should call, yeah, that's all I'm doing, just reading. So I don't know what's going on. All right. So, Sister V Love, I'm going to send you all the documentation you need for more information. All right. So you said authorized in the next month or two. We got to see. Because remember, when they started this, it was over a year ago, right? Working on this vaccination. All right. So they may be coming up close to their 2-year marker. We'll see. They say maybe by the end of the year. However, what about all the people that have been vaccinated before it's been authorized? See, that's the key thing. If it's under EUA, hey, I don't want it. No, I'm going to keep it moving. That's okay. I'm good. I'm going to keep it moving. Why? Let me show you another fact, and then we're going to move on to why we coming here. All right. Please, y'all, you can take care of the sister in the chat. I don't know what she's saying. She says, please answer plain and clear. Do you think Daniel would have took a vaccine to keep a job? Why are you asking me that? I don't understand. I have not been vaccinated, and I'm not telling people to or not to get vaccinated. That's their own personal choice. What kind of question is this? You see the distraction away from the empowerment of the people. This is what happens, man. So I want to show you this real quick. Check it out. Let's not get distracted. I'm gonna check this out. I guess the sister likes attention. Maybe she just wants to get my attention. I don't know what it is. But I want to show you something real quick. All right. And again, I'm not making these things up. I'm just showing you what's out there. This right here is from the Johns Hopkins University in Medicine Coronavirus Resource Center. One of the best primary sources you can go to in regards to understanding about the coronavirus. Now, I was asked recently, what is the morbidity or mortality rate in regards to COVID-19? So we're going to see the stats for ourselves. And again, I didn't make this up. I want you to see the stats for yourself. All right. So here it is. All right. What is the mortality rate percentage per country? Mexico has 8.3% mortality rate. Why is Mexico so high? 8.3%. Why is it so high? Because you look at the healthcare system and everything else, right? But if we scroll down to the United States, do you see what it says here in the United States? Let me zoom in for y'all. United States has a 1.7 COVID-19 mortality rate. Are you hearing what I'm saying? 1.7%. 1.7% mortality rate. Now, again, maybe I have to simplify that. This has to do with the amount of cases of people who report having or is reported to have COVID-19 and the percentage of people who die from the reported cases. Is that simple enough? Is that suffice enough? I don't know. I'm sure my daughter, who's 4 years old, can understand what it is that I'm saying, but maybe some people in here, I don't know. I'm trying to make it as simple as I can. That means if there's 100 people who are reported to have COVID, one of them die out of that 100. Is that pretty clear? I don't know if that's clear. Yes, I'm going to drop that link in the chat. Of course, I don't hold this stuff close to the chest. So Jedediah Ben Israel says, dude, you are not a medical expert or scientist. I'm not, but I'm going to show you what I am. I'm going to show you what I am. I'm going to show you what I am. All right. I'm going to show you what I am. I'm going to show you what I am. Check it out. Let me lay it out for you. Because maybe you don't know this about me, but let's put it out there. All right. Let's snap it out there. I'm going to show you what I am. All right. Check this out. And I'm going to give it to you very basic. Okay? I have to make it very basic because apparently I'm going over people's head. So check it out. You want to see what I do? I'm going to show it to you. Watch this. Watch this. Check it out. Oh, trust me, I come prepared for all of this. What is citizen science? Did you know that I engage in what's called citizen science research? If you don't know what that is, I'm going to explain it to you. As we face global challenges, we may want to find local ways to make a difference in protecting endangered species, safeguarding water sources, preventing disease, or accelerating medical research. Science needs more eyes, ears, and perspectives than any scientist possesses. Enter citizen science, a collaboration between scientists and those of us who are just curious or concerned and motivated to make a difference. People just like you are collecting data by taking photos of clouds or streams, documenting changes in nature, using smartphone sensors to help scientists monitor water, air quality, or playing games to help advance health and medical research. A citizen science project can involve one person or millions of people collaborating towards a common goal. Typically, public involvement is in data collection, analysis, and reporting. Here are 4 common features of citizen science practice. A, anyone can participate. B, participants use the same protocol so data can be combined and be high quality. C, data can help real scientists come to a real conclusion. And D, a wide community of scientists and volunteers work together and share data to which the public as well as scientists have access. The fields that citizen science advances are diverse: ecology, astronomy, medicine, computer science, statistics, psychology, genetics, engineering, and many more. The massive collaborations that can occur through citizen science allow investigations at continental and global scales and across decades, leading to discoveries that a single scientist could never achieve on its own. Now, what I want you to do, my brother, now that you're saying that I am not an expert, and I understand that I'm not an expert, okay? I understand I'm not an expert. However, I am a secondary researcher. I engage in citizen science research. I am involved in several practices in the realm of medicine. Matter of fact, I'll keep that video for the Patreon because Patreons invest and they really care about what we do here when we do the field work. And they'll be able to see all the medical citizen science projects. There's some related to COVID that I am involved in and that I have correspondence to scientists. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. There we go. If y'all want to get involved in this as well, citizen science research, hit me up at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. I'll get you involved, plug you in. But whenever somebody says to Divine, yo, you're not a scientist, you're not an expert, I know that. And I don't have to be to contribute to the advancement in the realm of science. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, the fact that I got a PhD, does that make me an expert in theology? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Who cares? At the end of the day, I'm informing the public so they can make a better informed decision. That's what I'm here for. But I'm built for all the criticism because I got a response for everything that I'm being criticized of. The text says to always be ready to give an answer to any man that asks. That's what we're doing here. So does that satisfy? What you mean tell everyone why the shot was given EUA status? They can research it for themselves. Trump spoke about this when he was in office. Fauci spoke about this. What do you mean tell them why? It's public record. If nobody knows it, just simply type in, how did Pfizer Moderna vaccines get EUA status? You just type it into Google. I can't handhold everything for people. Do you understand? We inspire you to research and investigate. So if I say something, go back and check it out. I'm not making it up. I'm giving you the sources. But for anybody that may doubt my involvement in the advancement of science, come holler at me. I'll show you the citizen science research projects I'm involved in. Several of them involve COVID-19. And getting a solution to what's about to take place. And all of it is not in the realm of allopathic science either. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Thank you, sis. I appreciate that. We're going to move on. All right. He said, look at this. When is the free insulin and chemo coming out? They ain't coming out. What? That should get EUA. Cancer actually is killing more people than coronavirus, COVID-19. Did you know that? Did you know cancer is killing more people than COVID-19? You didn't know that? But nothing's getting EUA status? Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you think folks banging, but your slip be showing. Where is he coming from with this? I don't know what he's talking about. All right. All right. All right. Whatever you say, my brother, that's cool. Man, they may be agent provocateurs. I don't know. All right. Heart disease is number 2. And it goes neck to neck with cancer sometimes. But apparently that's not a pandemic. And the death rate for that is much higher than COVID-19. All right. All right. You already know. I've been talking about this last year. Matter of fact, those debates is on my channel. If you want to see me debate it with people. All right. Shalom, sis Lizzie List. I see you. Shalom, Brandon Blackwell. I see you. Shalom. All right. Janelle, I see you, sis. Shalom. So I'm going to let the chat deal with the brother Jedediah Ben Israel and the sister Boom Shakalaka. Y'all can deal with them. Because apparently, maybe they're not informed that the chat actually knows what they're talking about. We have a very intelligent, spiritually discerning chat on this channel. And if you don't believe me, trolls, just simply engage them. Nobody on here sleep. You can't be asleep with the type of stuff that we give you. It's impossible. Shout out to my brother Dale H in the building. Seth Upright, shalom. You see that? State and city workers in Florida being threatened with firing if they do not get the so-called vaccine. It's still not licensed yet. So they can still present this data to them and make a case. If they have to go further, they could get a lawyer. All right. Preferably a civil rights lawyer because it's infringing upon your civil right. All right. Okay. Shout out to DeWitt Patton, Keith Williams in the building. Shalom. Oh, Law of Gardening is back. Look at that. That trolls is showing up tonight. And all I was doing was giving you information, reading you information. That's it. All I'm doing is reading information. No conspiracy theories. All I did was read information. And people got their panties in a bunch. I don't know why. I'm just reading information. Shout out to my brother Jace Fearson. This is why we can't get ahead. Right? You simply share information and you get criticized for sharing information that's documented information that can help somebody. Shout out to my brother Kenneth Yasharel in the building. Shalom. I don't know what's going on. And shout out to my brother Jay Fearson. Thank you, my brother, for working on that document. I did see it. We're going to have an admin meeting so I could talk to you further, my brother. But thank you for the work that you did on that document so far. Please keep up the good work. All right. All right. All right. So let's transition from that. Shout out to G Brown in building. Eric Knowles, shalom. He says they took the mark. I don't know what's going on, man. I'm not here to judge whether somebody gets a vaccine or not. All I care about is if you did get it, how well informed were you? Did you get those inserts about EUA before you took it? Did you know that it's not mandatory before you took it? Do you know about the ingredients? When you get that insert for the vaccine, always request it and see the ingredients that's in there. Because you may go into anaphylactic shock after you get it. Do you have a prior history of hyperallergic reactions? Do you have hypersensitivity 1 or 2? Are you assessing these things before you go get the vaccine? Do you know about the legal jargon that's mentioned? Do you know about the waiver that you're signing? You must understand these things before you engage in this. And I'm not here to say, oh, vaccines are wicked and evil. That's for you to determine on your own personal time. I'm simply trying to get you informed before making a decision. That's my job. And that's simply it. Shout out to S. McGee in the building. Shalom. All right. So Dina Charles, I don't know what your occupation is, but please do not give them any rhetoric from the internet. Simply reference them to the documentation that is legitly online from the sources, CDC, FDA, and just simply give it to them. That's it. According to that, it cannot be mandated for you to take it. However, your job may be able to mandate it. And what they'll say is, well, you have the option to quit or stay. But you can also show them and say, hey, look, it says that I'm not mandated to take this. It's under EUA. So why can't we hold off and revisit this when it is authorized and licensed, and then we can discuss this again? Why are you pushing this on me right now? So you can make a case. You could do that. All right. Anytime, Eric Knowles, no problem. Informed consent. Thank you, Sister Monica Williams. All right. What? Are you not allowed to blatantly tell us not to get it? Why are you giving us a choice? Now, this is why being meticulous and being quick to hear is important. I simply said that if I tell you don't take it, they will take this video down. Are you not paying attention? Then I also say that on my Patreon, I can talk as openly and as frank as I would like to without any censorship. So if you really want to know my opinion and thoughts, and you're that invested that you're here every Friday night, Saturday morning, sign up for the Patreon. It's that simple. Okay? Okay? Okay. All right. All right. Stop double speaking, bro. You see this? You see this? This is what people do. All right. No, Nathan, you're correct. I'm going to move forward. I just want people to see, for the public record, whenever you try to do something positive, like inform the public, and then trust that they will do their own research. I can't spoon feed everybody. I'm here to inspire you to do further research. I'm giving you the primary sources. I can't hold your hand the whole way through. You're a grown adult. How is that my job to do that? How is that my job to do that? Tell me that. Shout out to Shepo Debodu. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Shout out to It's Just a Conversation. Shalom, Frank Smith. Shalom. Some just don't get it. They don't. And they don't realize that they're hurting more than helping by distracting away when you're simply just giving information to the people. So let's move forward. Shout out to James McKenzie anytime. And again, if anybody wants any additional information, and if I don't have it in the chat, email me kingdomharbor@gmail.com, and I will get it over to you as soon as I possibly can. All right. But if you want to know, frankly, what is my personal thoughts and suggestions, it's going to be on that show, because that way I know the people who are interested in it are going to sign up, and they're going to want to know personally what my position is without censorship. You don't realize that censorship is heavy. And if I do something without strategically thinking and force myself to get censored, then the information that people are relying upon to help them better study the text and have a stronger walk with Yah is no longer going to be here, because I'm here to satisfy trolls. I'm not going to do that, because some of y'all don't have nothing to lose. I do. So I'm not going to sacrifice what we're doing in this channel to appease you. It's not going to happen. But if you are interested, sign up for the Patreon. We're going to see how serious you are if you sign up for the Patreon. That's it. But get involved into citizen science research and then come back and talk to me about it. Because otherwise, you're just spewing out rhetoric. You're spewing out things that you're recycled off to the internet on memes. All right. And you have no clue the inner workings of what's going on. I do, because I'm involved in citizen science research on several projects. All right. James Clark, I have no clue. I'm not going to speak on anything I don't know. I don't know. I've not been in touch with that brother for a long time. I have no clue. You're asking the wrong person. And I saw you asked that last Friday as well. I have no clue. All right. Shout out to Pieces of Me. Shalom. All right. You can't make them drink. You can't, unfortunately. All right. Shout out to Sister Ebony Knowledge in the building. Shalom, sis. Shalom. All right. And look at this. Look at laws of gardening. Micah 3:11. The heads thereof for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. Yet they will lean upon the Lord and say, is not the Lord amongst us? Yo, trolls, I was going to give you an opportunity at the end of this session to get on here and talk, but you already showed yourselves already. So I don't even need to give you that additional time. I'm going to go talk on the subject matter, close out the show. All right. And then we're going to move on from there. All right. This is the stuff that they post in the show. This is what they post. All right. Shout out to Legendary Top Cats. This is what they post. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Man. Unbelievable. All right. So, yeah, they don't read between the lines. It should be very evident, but, you know, they want to ruin my channel. This is what agent provocateurs do. They don't want this channel to continue to be broadcast, so they're trying to get me to compromise so I can get my channel shut down. And it's not going to happen because I play chess. I see what y'all trying to do. Go on your channel and do that. Or maybe you don't have a channel and do it. Maybe your channel is censored. You're trying to get everybody else censored. It's not going to work here. All right. So let's transition. So now, transitioning from that and picking up where I wanted to fill in on, I was talking about the concept of cremation, but I want to bring out some very interesting information. So let me show something real quick. And again, at this point, we're going to gloss over the trolls and we're going to get into doing work because the trolls are here for a reason. They want to learn too, right? They're just too shameful to admit it, too prideful to admit it, too beside themselves and egotistical to admit that they're here to learn. Because why else would you be here at 1:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time? What are you doing here? Why are you here? Why are you here if you have such gripes? What you doing here? Oh, you know what? I wanted to show y'all. I did want to show something else. Hold on. Before I get into that, real quick. Real quick. Where's it at? Check it out. Check this out. Y'all see that? I'm not even going to say nothing. I'm just showing you the source. You see that? Jedediah, if you're a troll and you're not a hater, that's fine. Why are you here? That's my question to you. Tell me why you are here. And I thought you was cool, Jedediah. You do troll from time to time, like right now. And sometimes you're cool. You're just inconsistent, lukewarm. So I don't know what's going on. But why are you here? But anyway, I'm just showing y'all what it says on the screen. I don't even need to read it. You see that? Do you see that? Okay. All right. I just wanted y'all to see that. All right. Okay, so DeWitt Patton, are you talking to me or somebody else? I'm not sure. James Clark, I don't know what your question is. Hopefully it's related to what we're about to talk about. I got you. it gotta be. It gotta be. I don't know. I don't understand. That's why I try to understand why they're even here. So shout out to Mikael Eliezer. I think I gave you a shout out earlier. Shout out to Sister Janelle, Yeledya, Yehuda Yisrael, Shalom. All right. You already know. You already know. All right. Yes, I got you. I got you. So look, I'm gonna let y'all deal with them. I'm gonna get on with the show. I'm gonna let y'all deal with them because I'm gonna bring out information that I haven't seen people bring out in our community, but I'm gonna bring it in. All right. Okay, I got you, DeWitt, no doubt. All right. So Moshe the Hebrew says, how many vaccinated people are spreading the Delta variant? Do you really want those statistics? Let me know if you want that. I got them on deck. There's no misleading here where I'm giving you all the sources. How am I misleading you when I'm giving you the source? Okay, you know what? Maybe you didn't see that image clear enough, but maybe I'll blow it up again for you to see it. Hold on. Maybe you didn't see everything that's in that. Hold on. Maybe you didn't see that. Let me blow it up for you one more time. Blow it up one more time. And you tell me what it says there yourself. I'm gonna give it another 10 seconds. You see that? The amount of the Delta coronavirus variant and samples collected from the vaccinated and unvaccinated cases were virtually identical. It's come from the CDC. Are you reading that? I didn't write that. That came directly from a primary source. So let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. All right. So let's bring this up real quick. You bring it up on the screen. And let's keep it going. All right. So, and I'm going to show you how the people who are in here trolling, how much they're trolling. Because what happens is when they get called out for trolling by purposely being an agent provocateur and an antagonistic towards the information that's being merely read, then what they tend to do as a trend is become antagonistic to everything that I'm sharing on tonight. And you're going to see it. So when I bring this out, the biggest antagonists are going to be the trolls. Watch, mark my words. The sacrificial system, okay? The first one that we see in Leviticus chapter 1 of Vayikra chapter 1 is about the burnt offering. The burnt offering elements consist of bull, ram, male goat, male dove, or young pigeon without blemish. Always male animals, but species of animal varied according to the individual's economic status. All right? Typically, people who had a lot of money can give a bull, right, or ram. And if you didn't have a lot of money, you typically gave a young pigeon, okay? The significance of a burnt offering is voluntary. It signifies propitiation for sin and complete surrender, devotion, and commitment to the Most High. All right? Now, if you want to know about the sacrificial systems and different offerings, I did a lecture called Are All Sins Created Equal, where I break this down in even further detail. All right. But I want you to look at this and keep this in mind, because we're going to go over a couple of articles that's going to give some very interesting insight. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the articles. All right. Now, before we do that, let's go here. All right. This article right here, which I will make available on the Patreon, is called Death and Burial, Bronze and Iron Age, period, right? It says here, at the outset, it is worth noting that the number of recovered bodies falls far short of the estimated population. This disparity raises the question as to whether or not identified burials are truly representative of ancient burial practices. Still, among the published interments, the predominant cave chamber and more elaborate bench tombs represent the norm. The physical form designed to inculcate and perpetuate cultural and religious values. These tomb types typically occur in rock outcrops, ideally with caves or fissures, to facilitate fashioning the chamber and benches. Identified tomb clusters on the slopes below or outside a settlement, in rock cliffs facing a settlement, or in isolated highland cemeteries. Further, poorly attested types, namely pit and cist graves and jar burials, occur in such small numbers that they may be regarded as non-normative. Such burials are either found broadly across Israel or presented as the norm in the Bible. So what this is saying is, do excavations in the realm of archaeology and what we call Israel today. They discovered what they outlined to be cave, chamber, and bench tombs, all right, that the dead are placed, all right? They're saying that we don't have an immense amount of it because of the inconsistency, but that which we do have is enough for us to come to the conclusions to what the cultural and religious values of these individuals were, right? Burial customs is an ethnic marker in regards to ancient people. It's very important that you keep that in mind, all right? It goes into grave, cave, chamber, and bench tombs. It goes into grave goods that was found, such as lamps, vessels for preparing, serving, storing food and liquid, household items, and personal possessions. While perhaps not a precursor of the formal house, the bench tomb does evoke a residence for eternity, furnished with beds, crockery, house tools, and personal possessions. Did you know that that's how they buried the dead, with those items, through excavations that we found and what we called Iron Age Israelite sites? Interesting when you look at the material culture and what people did in regards to the deceased. So you can get the rest of this article. I'll make it available if you want it. But let's get into what I really wanted to touch on, right? The first thing I wanted to address is what's called the Jewish mourning traditions. All right. This is important. It's only a few pages long, but I want you to see something real quick, and then we're going to dive into the meat and potatoes of what we're here to present. All right. All right. Give me 1 second. Is mods, if you would like to time out the trolls, feel free to do so. Don't block them, but you can time them out if you want. Okay, but don't block them. All right. All right. Hold on 1 second. My bad. Okay, I'm unmuted. Thank you for that. All right. So all I did was read what we have here on the screen, right? The first thing there, the vigil. When a person dies, the shoal or neshima hovers around the body, etc., right? Matter of fact, let me blow it up because it might be small on your screen. I want to be able to have it zoom so I can get most of it on the screen. There we go. All right. Hit 1 if you guys can see that. Hit 1 if you guys can see that. All right. I'm back now. I'm back. All right. Hit 1 if you can see that. All right. I want to give you insight into the Jewish community and how they identify mourning traditions, burials, and all of that stuff. Right. Before I get into some heavier stuff. All right. All right, so check it out. All right, thank you, family. Thank you for hitting 1. Again, make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying this. All right, if you're brand new, hit the subscribe button. Go back into our archives and dive into the wealth of content that we have here. Don't forget to sign up for our Patreon, www.patreon.com/DivineProspect. Also, share this video on all social media platforms because this is unique information that is not being conveyed in the community. And I want our people to be aware of these things before I dive into it. Now, keep in mind that I brought out about the burnt offering. Keep that in mind. That's important. All right. So let's scroll down. Again, you guys can read this, pause it, go back and read it. Let's move down further. All right. Shout out to James McKenzie in the building. Brother Yehudi Yah in the building. Shalom. I see you. Let me see. James Cag. Shalom. Bernie Sat. Shalom. Willie Little John. Shalom. W Mac. Shalom. Let me see. Anybody else? Shout out to my brother Chris Bronson in the building. Shalom. Coco Tawaki Taylor. Shalom. Melody Kenzie. Shalom. J Rod. Shalom. Let me see. I think that's everybody. All right. If I see you, I'm going to shout you out. And I want to give you a thank you for supporting this channel. Shout out to the Isha Natural Beginnings in the building. Shalom. Feed the Spirit. Shalom. All right. Let's keep going. Check it out. Watch this. Immediately after death, Jacob is promised that when he dies, Joseph's hand shall close your eyes. Genesis 46:4. All right. The 16th century code of Jewish law, keep in mind the time period, dictated that the eyes should be closed, arms and hands extended and brought close to the body, and the lower jaw closed and bound. The body was placed on the floor with the feet towards the door. The body was covered with a sheet and a lit candle placed near the head. The Midrash states that on Shabbat, one does not close the eyes, bind the jaw, or light a candle. Some Jewish communities would place pot shards on the eyes. Russians placed coins. Ancient superstitions in many cultures held that if the eyes were open, the ghost of the deceased would return to fetch away another of the household. The body was placed on the floor, sometimes on a bed of straw, 20 minutes to an hour after death. Many communities believe, and still do, that a body must be taken out feet first. If they are taken out head first, this allows them to look back into the home and beckon someone else to join them in death. Really interesting. Watching the body. The deceased is not left alone until burial. There was a widespread belief in the Middle Ages, again, keep in mind the period of time, that at the moment of death, a struggle occurs between angels and demons, each seeking to control the deceased soul. Jews believe that the demons are denied access to the dying if someone stands guard over them. The Talmud postulates that the body was watched to protect it from rodents and similar marauders. In the Middle Ages, Polish Kabbalist Isaiah Horowitz wrote, "I have received a tradition that those who watch the corpse from the moment of death until it is covered with earth shall gather around it so closely that not a breath of outside air, otherwise known as a demon, can seep past their guard. They should constantly repeat this prayer without an instant's pause, even 1,000 times." Another late medieval custom was to march 7 times around the corpse, reciting certain biblical selections which drive away the spirits so that they may not seize the body. And this goes on to the gematria, the number 7, etc. Announcing the dead. References to pouring out water at the time of death, which is a libation, are found in the 13th century German and French sources, and many countries have some version of water pouring at the time of death. It was thought that if anyone said the word death, Satan would find out and be tempted to take the soul of the deceased. If one silently poured out water, then Satan wouldn't hear of the death. Families kept jugs of mayim, shevuvim, drawn water at the entrances to homes, and this water was used to announce the death. Some sources say that all of the water in the house was poured out, this being a time without plumbing, so water would have been held in vessels, all right? Then it gives other sources for that, all right? Keria, when he thought that Joseph had been killed, Yaakov tore his robes in grief and put on sackcloth. Keria is the ritual of rending the clothes. Keria meaning tearing. The Talmud prescribed that everyone who witnessed a death must rend a garment immediately. In time, this requirement was modified to apply to only close relatives, and the time frame was relaxed as well. Many contemporary Jews wait until they are able to change into appropriate clothing, and some perform Keria at the funeral home. Most Sephardim wait until the burial to rend their garments, okay? All right, let's keep going. Burial. Decent burial was regarded to be of great importance in ancient Israel, as one can measure by the frequency with which the Bible refers to the fear of being left unburied. It was regarded as one of the laws of humanity, not to let anyone lie unburied. The one thing expressed most clearly by Israelite burial practices was that human desire to maintain some contact with the community, even after death, through burial in one's native land, and if possible with one's ancestors. Jacob's request, "Bury me with my fathers," was the wish of every ancient Israelite. In harmony with this desire, the tomb most typical of the Israelite period was a natural cave or chamber cut into soft rock near the city. And again, remember I read the earlier article that told you about the bench tombs, the cave tombs, and the rock cut tombs, okay? Bodies would be laid on rock shelves provided on 3 sides of the chamber on the floor, and as generations of the same family used the tomb, skeletons and grave goods might be heaped up along the sides or put into a side chamber to make room for the new burials. This practice of family burial was common enough to give rise to the Hebrew expressions to sleep with one's fathers and to be gathered to one's kin as synonyms for to die, all right? There is no explicit biblical evidence as to how soon after death burial took place, but it is likely that it was ordinarily within a day. Why? Because they didn't apply a lot of preservation methods like we see in mummification in ancient Egypt. All right. All right. Let's go past that. And again, I'm going to make this article available so you can read it more in depth. I'm just trying to give you insight into these Jewish practices. All right. So the Shiva. Shiva is a 7-day period following burial during which the family members follow specific mourning customs. In ancient times, the period of mourning began when the mouth of the burial cave was covered with the rock. In modern times, the day of the burial is the first day of Shiva. There is a concession to reduce the time period to 3 days if one's livelihood will suffer, and contemporary Jews often hold a shorter Shiva. All right. And here it goes into all of those traditions. All right. Covering mirrors. It is a contemporary practice rather than an ancient tradition to cover all mirrors in a house when the deceased is lying and to keep mirrors covered through Shiva. There are several explanations given for this, including one should not be overly involved in their own vanity during moments of tragedy, and it is disrespectful to the deceased to be involved in one's own beauty and ornamentation at a time when their body is decaying. Prayer services such as the Shiva Minyan are held in the home, and it is forbidden to pray in front of a mirror, and there was a primitive belief that the soul was reflected in the mirror and the ghost of the deceased would be able to see the soul and snatch it away. Mourning for all relatives except parents continues for 3 weeks after Shiva until 30 days have passed from burial. Mourning for parents, the Yud Bet Chodesh, lasts for 12 months. The Kaddish is recited during both of these time periods, right? The Sheloshim customs, and it goes into what those customs are, okay? The afterlife, the view held by ancient Jews, as well as what? Greeks and Babylonians, was that all people, Jews and Gentiles, go to the netherworld called Sheol, a deep and dark place in which shadowy spirits called Rephaim dwell. During the 2nd century BCE, a new apocalyptic eschatology took form, that the dead will rise at the end of days. After the Babylonian exile, 638 to 586 BCE, Judaism became deeply concerned with interpreting sacred texts and deciphering their secrets. There was also the arrival of a new kind of Jewish hero during the Maccabean revolt, 167 to 160 BCE, the martyr. A benevolent God must repay the sacrifice of a person who died for the sanctity of his name. And while we all die, death is only temporary, and in the future, all will receive their just rewards. And it goes on about the other groups and the other insights. Again, I'm going to share this document so you can read it in depth. What I was simply trying to do with this document is give you insight into the Jewish perspective of burials, burial customs, rituals that they perform, and their views on the afterlife. All right. So again, if you see Jews in your neighborhood or somewhere else doing this stuff, just ask them, hey, is that scripture? Where's that come from? Where you get that from? Can you show me that in Torah, Tanakh? Where's that at? And what they'll do is give you some proof texting and then build a whole halakha on it. That's what they do, because they employ their form of midrash to get the understanding, and they turn it into halakhic law that is followed by that community. Sometimes it's just minhagim or customs that they turn into halakhic law. All right? Okay. Chris Bronson, I did not know that. If you have a primary source on it from a valid, reputable site or article, please share that to me in my email. That is crazy. I would love to see that. All right? All right. Shout out to Ruach and Hamashiach. Shalom to you. Shalom to Mother Beulah in the building. Shalom. Shalom to Feed the Spirit. I see you. Shalom. All right. So let's get deeper. We're going to get deeper into this. You know, when I got the glasses on, we about to get deep. We're about to dig a deep well and fill it. So check this out. Remember I told you about the burnt offering. Then I transitioned and tell you about the rock cut tombs and the bench tombs and all of that. And that article mainly dealt with the material culture or the archaeological excavations of the artifacts left behind by the people the Bible speaks about, right? That gives us additional insight. Now with the burnt offering, I'm going to show you two interesting articles. I'm going to read some of it. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm going to read some of it. You can read the rest of it yourself, and I'm going to make a conclusion that can then open up to a brief Q&A, and we're going to close out. All right? All right. So check it out. All right, check it out. Watch this. Next article up. Here it is. All right. This is in the Social Science and Medicine Journal. Good Death and Bad Death in Ancient Israel According to Biblical Law by Klaas Sprank. All right. This is from a theological university in the Netherlands. And shout out to my brother Nahum Yah. He's in the Netherlands. All right. I don't know if you're still here, my brother, but shout out to you. All right. Because we got our people scattered to the four corners of the earth. All right. So it says here, the abstract. Let's zoom in. This is a very interesting article, and I want y'all to see this. This is deep. Check it out. In the view of the ancient Israelites, as expressed in the Hebrew Bible, death is good, or at least acceptable, if one, after a long life, which we all strive, and keeping the Torah, one of the benefits of keeping Torah is the extension of long life in the land. The other one is prosperity. Number two, when a person dies in peace, that's extremely important. Number three, when there is continuity in the relation with the ancestors and the heirs. So when we keep these cultural norms that our ancestors practice, we're in harmony, because then you will be gathered with your ancestors, because they have preserved these cultural paradigms for you to engage in, so that you can have that unbroken lineage of continuity of customs and mannerisms that have put you back into alignment with the destiny that they only dreamed for you to have. Okay, let's keep going. When one will be buried in one's own land, death is experienced as bad when one, it is premature. Of course, that's bad. When we have these young kids out here going to gang violence, shooting and killing each other, that's bad, according to our culture. When it's violent, again, on top of that, especially when it is shameful, e.g. when a man is killed by a woman. Very interesting stuff we're about to get into. 3, when a person does not have an heir, that is heavy. When you die without a child, that's a serious thing. And 4, when one does not receive a proper burial. It is remarkable that in the literature of ancient Israel, common elements like the cult of the dead and the belief of and retribution after death are not explicitly mentioned, and therefore do not function as a comfort for death. Also, from a theological point of view, emphasis is placed on this life. A positive attitude towards martyrdom is missing. This results in a way of coping with death, which has many modern elements, or which may help modern people to face death. Now, let me show you something. All right, let me show you something. Check it out. Let me get into something real quick. I'm gonna read a little bit of this. All right. All right. Let me see where I want to highlight. Okay. Death in relation to God. In the Hebrew Bible, most things are seen and described in the relation to the belief in the God of Israel. The story of the first sin introduces death as something which marks the difference between God and man. By achieving knowledge, Adam and Eve have become close to God, but he does not let them conquer death. All right. And he gives the scripture, which is Genesis 3:22. And the same way the divinely installed order is preserved, death helps man to remember that God created man from the soil. By the sweat of your face, you shall eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, you are dust, and to dust you shall return. All right. In this way, the divinely installed order is preserved. I read that man cannot escape death. In the Hebrew Bible, we only find 2 exceptions to this rule. In Genesis 5:25, we hear of Enoch living very close to God. He walked with God. Unlike the other men of the old mentioned in this chapter, it is not reported of Enoch that he died at a certain age. Instead, God took him. This suggests that the close relation with God continued even though Enoch was no longer among the living. Nothing is told about the way this should be pictured. The Hebrew Bible keeps to the strict separation between human and divine. More details about the way a human being can be taken by God are given in the story of the ascension of the prophet Elijah. Now, the interesting thing about Elijah was how he was taken up, which goes into what we're about to read, because when you know what Olah is, the burnt offering, it literally means the ascension. The ascension of what? The smoke and ash after, during and after the fire, right? And it is wholly consumed. So Elijah was wholly consumed by chariots of fire as he was taken up. And remember, what did we just read? What a burnt offering is. It is one of pure devotion to Yah. And he was taken up in flames of fire, holy in ascension up to Yah. It's deep. It's deep. I'm not going to pack too much out of it. But as you see, this is taken into it. All right. Now, here it says the fate of Enoch and Elijah was believed to be extraordinary. Nevertheless, it is characteristic of the biblical view of life and death that in certain ways a close relation between mortal man and God, lest the strict separation between life and death fade away. This is beautifully illustrated in Psalm 73. The poet finds comfort with regard to the many unresolved questions about justice and injustice in human life by looking at the relation with God. From a close relation to God, one gets a new perspective on life and death. Nevertheless, I am continually with you. You hold my right hand. You guide me with your counsel. And afterward, you will receive me with honor. Who have I in heaven but you? And there is nothing on earth that I desire other than you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Indeed, those who are far from you will perish, and you put an end to those who are false to you. It is interesting to note that the poet uses the expression here translated with you will receive me, which also returns in both the story of Enoch and Elijah, indicating the action of God taking them to heaven. Whereas Enoch and Elijah seem to escape death, Psalm 73 points to the belief that the pious is rescued by God from a miserable state after death. All right. So let me see if there's something else I wanted to pull out in here. If not, I'll just leave it for you to read. The story of good death of Abraham. From the Bible, we know Abraham as the man who was summoned by God to leave his homeland and family, to whom was given the promise of land and many descendants. After a long struggle to get his own place in the land to which God directed him, and after many trials and tribulations concerning his sons Ishmael and Isaac, it is told that at the end of his life, he gets 6 more sons. Then Abraham dies. All right. And that's in Genesis 25, verses 7 to 11. It says, we have here the best example in the Hebrew Bible of what one could call a good death. This was already announced and interpreted as a gift of God because he had given him this promise. It says, you shall go to your ancestors in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age. All right, now let me jump on. Let me read Genesis 25, 7, 11. This is the length of Abraham's life, 175 years, long life and extension. Abraham breathed his last and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar, the Hittite, east of Mamre, the field that Abraham purchased from the Hittite. There Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After the death of Abraham, God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac settled in Be'er Lahai-roi. Genesis 25, 7 to 11. All right. The first element of the good death is the good old age. It is regarded as a blessing. Psalm 91 and 16, Isaiah 53 and 10, Isaiah 65 and 20, and Zechariah 8 and 4. The old age can be called good because the promises given to Abraham were fulfilled during his own lifetime. All right. In later Jewish Christian writings, we read of Abraham being in heaven. All right. And that's what we get from Luke chapter 16. But we're going to skip past that. All right. It says, according to this belief, the injustice and undeserved suffering is compensated in life after death. It also solves the problem of just people passing away relatively young. In the book of the Wisdom from 1st century BC, this problem is solved by pointing to the blessings that the righteous await after death. Fulfillment of life is not to be sought in a number of years as with Abraham. Quality, understanding, and a blameless life comes before quantity. And that's in the Wisdom 4, 7 to 11. In a number of writings that can be dated in the 2nd century BC, we find attested a belief in a life after death in which God brings to justice all human beings. Even death by torture can be placed in a positive life, as is demonstrated by 2 Maccabees chapter 7. All right. And it goes on and on and on, but I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going because I'm gonna leave this for y'all to read. I don't want to just read the whole thing tonight, but let me skip past this to see if there's another point. All right. Now let's get into let's juxtapose that and get to the contrasting side. The story of the bad death of Absalom. After we have listed the elements which make death more or less acceptable, we can now simply turn them around to describe the ancient Israelite idea of a bad death. Now, the reason why this is key, if we are reinstating our custom of our ancestors, it's because we need to create the divine line so that our community understands what is a good death and what is a bad death. You know why I say that? I say that because I've been to plenty of funerals where brothers died young, died violent, and all of that, and still got praise from the preacher preaching at their funeral. Now, of course, if he's a hired help, he's definitely not going to say anything negative about the dead. However, we need to let our youth know there's a good way to die and there's a bad way to die, and YOLO is not going to cut it. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. All right. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit more for y'all to see. All right. After we have listed the elements which make death more or less acceptable, we can now simply turn them around to describe the ancient Israelite idea of a bad death. Over against the story of the good death of Abraham, we can put the sad story of how Absalom, one of the sons of David, came to his end. He had violently taken the throne of his father, but was not able to keep it due to bad advisors. The army of Absalom is defeated by the forces that had stayed loyal to David. At his flight, Absalom is killed by the general of his father's army. This is a clear example of a premature death, which is underlined by the fact that when a messenger reports of the outcome of the battle, both he and the king speak of Absalom as a young man. The king said to the Cushite, "Is it well with the young man Absalom?" The Cushite answered, "May the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise up to do you harm be like that young man." The king was deeply moved and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And as he went, he said, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, would I had died instead of you? Oh, Absalom, my son and my son." In the wisdom literature and in the Psalms, dying young is regarded as a punishment by the Most High. The godless in heart cherish anger. They do not cry for help when he binds them. They die in their youth, and their life ends in shame. But you, O God, will cast them down into the lowest pit. The bloodthirsty and treacherous shall not live out half their days, but I will trust in you. The fear of the Lord prolongs life, but the years of the wicked will be short. Okay? Now it says here, when the pious King Hezekiah is assailed by a deathly disease, he cries out to God that death comes too early. He described himself as being part already of the world of the dead, sounding like the spirits of the dead in necromancy. In the noontide of my days, I must depart. I am co-signed to the gates of Sheol for the rest of my years. Like a swallow or crane, I clamor. I moan like a dove. My eyes are weary with looking upward. Oh Lord, I am oppressed. Be my security. Absalom died by the sword, a violent death. From the story of the end of King Saul and the battle against the Philistines, we learned that it is felt to even worse when death comes from the hand of a despised person, in this case, the heathen or uncircumcised enemy. Saul prefers to be killed by his servant. Eventually, he escapes from a shameful death and suicide, which is a rare phenomenon in the Hebrew Bible and more associated with despair than honor. You can get that from 1 Samuel chapter 31, verses 3-4. We inform that Absalom died with no surviving heir. According to 2 Samuel 18:18, he had erected a monument for himself because he had no son to keep my name in remembrance. For the reader who is acquainted with the book of Genesis, this is an ominous piece of information. It recalls the intentions of the builders of the Tower of Babel to make themselves a name. God had prevented this by confusing their language. Instead, he made a new beginning with Abraham, promising to make his name great. The provisions by Absalom to preserve his name can be interpreted as an act of pride and as one of the reasons for his coming downfall. This brings us to the fourth criterion for death being either good or bad: the proper burial in one's own grave, which is the normal place where someone's name is kept in remembrance. We hear nothing of a burial of Absalom or of David taking away the shame of being left unburied, like he did with Saul and Jonathan, as he brought up their bones from the town where the Philistines had hung their corpses and buried them in the tomb of his father Kish. Only your worst enemy deserves to be deprived of this care after death. All right. I will bring upon evil upon the house of Jeroboam. I will cut off from Jeroboam every male, both bond and free in Israel, and will consume the house of Jeroboam, just as one burns up dung until it is all gone. Anyone belonging to Jeroboam who dies in the city, the dogs shall eat, and anyone who dies in the open country, the birds of the air shall eat, for the Lord has spoken. All right, and I'm done with that article. We're going to jump into the last article, which is extremely interesting. And after this, I'm going to cap it off and open up from Q&A. All right. Again, for all of this, I'm going to have these articles available on the Patreon, or you can email it to me and I will send it to you. All right. But again, on the Patreon, we have a catalog of tons of articles and books on the afterlife, burials, etc., etc. Okay. All right. So this article is called "The Punishment of Burning in the Hebrew Bible." I'm about to drop something serious on you. Remember, I told y'all about the burnt offering, right? It was consumed whole. It was done as a general propitiation for sins, and it was voluntary. Also, we had the chariots of fire that consume Elijah and bring him up as he descends into Shemayim, in some realm of Shemayim, right? But check this out about burning, the punishment of burning as a capital punishment for a capital offense. Check this out. Oh, shoot. I am muted. Thank you, Seth, for telling me that. I didn't know I was muted. Yes, I got you. I got you, Seth. I should be unmuted now. Thank you for that. Somebody did call my phone and still calling my phone. I should be unmuted now, right? Am I unmuted? Let me know if I'm unmuted, if y'all can hear me. I don't know. At one point, I got muted. Can y'all hear me now? Are we good? Okay. I don't know what point that I got muted. Oh, man. Y'all didn't hear nothing? Man. Wow. How far back did I get muted? Was it when I was covering this last article that I was muted? Did you hear me reach out to the first article from the beginning of this article? All right. Shout out to Willie Littlejohn for the donation. I appreciate that. You got muted right before you started the article. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, let me just sum up what I was saying real quick because there's not a lot that I went into. So thank you for catching that. And thank you, Seth, because I wasn't even watching the chat. I was actually reading the article. But I'll go back into it real quick. All right. Did you hear me read the abstract? Was you reading it along with me? Let me know if he said you just saw me going in hard. Okay. Did you hear me read the abstract and expound on it? Yes or no? Let me know yes or no. So I want to get through this real quick so we can sum it up. So no? Okay. So let's get into the abstract. I'll get into it again real quick because, again, I didn't really go into much, all right? So this article is called The Punishment of Burning in the Hebrew Bible by Shaul Bar, University of Memphis. The abstract says different modes of executing people are mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. Among them, we find the punishment of burning, which also existed in the ancient Near East. Thus, the question posed here is, what is the significance of describing this form of death? In order to arrive at an answer, we examine the episodes which describe death by burning to see in which context they appear. We will show that the punishment of burning in the Hebrew Bible appears in cases of illicit sex, sacrilege, and as a threat. In addition, we will demonstrate that burning people to death was a bad omen and that it meant total obliteration of the dead. Remember, we read about the burnt offering, Eliza going up into the fire, and now we're going to see something else. Execution by burning meant non-burial. Remember, we talked about being gathered with your ancestors, with the body being intact and the bones being extracted from its burial and then placed somewhere else, which is called a secondary burial. Okay, this was a sign of a good death when your body is kept intact and your bones are placed in a rock-cut tomb or a shelf tomb or something that where your ancestors lay, and typically up to 3 or 4 generations are buried together. All right. It says execution by burning meant non-burial. This was an end to the continuity and the final extinction of the deceased who had not been gathered to his ancestors. In other words, the punishment of burning shows a belief in posthumous concept. All right. And then I read this here where it says texts from the ancient Near East rarely describe how the condemned were put to death. For example, the Code of Hammurabi describes death for those who commit a particular crime. The method of execution is not specified except in a few cases that stipulated drowning, burning, etc. The Bible, too, generally employs the laconic "he shall be put to death." We have definite knowledge of only 2 forms of execution: stoning, after which the corpse was suspended in public view, and burning. In this article, we will limit our study to the punishment of burning to see in which context it appeared. It's talking about capital punishment for capital offenses. I did a whole lecture on this, right? We will explain the meaning of this form of execution and suggest a rationale for its particular description in the Bible. Moreover, since the person is dead, why then does the Bible attach such importance to describe the manner and cause of a person's death? Like, if a person's been put to death, why even mention that they were burned? It doesn't matter. They were killed. Was the punishment of burning an indication of a posthumous concept or afterlife concept? Now, illicit sex, reading the Hebrew Bible shows the biblical law specifies burning as the punishment for 2 forms of illicit sex. The first is the case of a man who marries a mother and her daughter. The text says they shall be burned with fire, both he and they, Leviticus 20:14. So those of you who are listening to this from the side of my voice, y'all should not be doing this. Y'all should know better. All right. Then it goes into commentary by rabbis and how they interpret this. All right. So we're going to skip past the commentary. All right. We're going to jump here where it says in extra biblical sources, burning is also the punishment for illicit sex. Under the Code of Hammurabi, it states that if a signor, which is a landowner, a lord or a master over a plot of land or a group of individuals, etc., has lain in the bosom of his mother after the death of his father, they shall both burn. They shall burn both of them. So again, if your father dies and you take your mother because your father is dead, according to the Code of Hammurabi, you shall be put to death. You shall burn. All right. Gerstenberger points to the severe punishment of burning because, according to him, burning signals a purification ceremony. When 3 people entered into prohibited sexual associations, they released malevolent and deleterious forces. Similarly, Hartley points out that burning cleansed the land from the defilement. But as for the severe punishment, he says that burning deprived these offenders of what? A proper burial, which is a bad way to die, which therefore increased their punishment in the eyes of the ancient people. he suggests that burning may have followed execution by stoning, as it appears in the case of Achan, right? Or Achan. He speculates that burning as a form of punishment may be related to God's way of putting to death those who dared to enter the sanctuary with something foreign, or those who openly challenge his purpose. In the second case, if a daughter of a priest is promiscuous, it is her father whom she defiles. She shall be put to the fire. The plain meaning in that the daughter's question is unmarried, but the Talmudic sages held that the provision applies only to the betrothed girl, or to a betrothed girl or married woman, when they extend it to the married woman. All right. Now, let me see if I can skip past that, or if I should read that. It says she is liable for the severe punishment because her behavior resembles that of the sacred prostitutes of the pagan cults, and because she profanes her father's set apartness. According to Levine, her behavior reflects on the father's sacral office. Thus, the death by fire indicates the seriousness of the offense. All right. Then it goes into the rabbis and their particular commentary on it. But if we scroll down, it says here too, a parallel exists to the code of Hammurabi, which prescribes burning for a cult prostitute or a divine lady who goes to a party and becomes intoxicated. If a Harodul, a nun who is not living in the covenant, has opened the door a wine shop or has entered a wine shop before drunk, they shall burn that woman. Under ancient law, however, burning seems to have been the penalty imposed on any woman who had illicit sex, and not just the daughter of a priest. When Judah is informed that Tamar has acted lewdly and became pregnant, although she is bound to his son by levirate marriage, he reacts immediately: bring her out and let her be burned. Tamar is accused of adultery, either as Er's widow or Shelah's betrothed. According to Westermann, her act was sufficient for criminal punishment without inquiry or legal process. Therefore, Judah pronounces this sentence immediately. Now, let's scroll through this. Let's get through this, right? Let's get to the next one so I can sum it up. Now, sacrilege. What is this? In the story of Achan, set at the time of the conquest of Canaan, burning is the punishment for sacrilege, not for forbidden sexual relations. He who is taken with the devoted thing shall be burned with fire. Joshua 7:15. Only burning is mentioned here. However, in verse 25, we read, all Israel pelted him with stones. They burned them with fire and stoned them with stones. According to verse 15, he is to be burned because has stolen the devoted things, your karem. He has acquired the status for himself, and the fate of the devoted things is to be burned. By contrast, verse 25 refers to stoning twice. Perhaps this is an example of the general and specific. All right, then it goes into, again, the rabbis. Rashi explains that the language in verse 15 is elliptical. He reads it is referring not to the transgressor, but to the tent and movable property. All right. It was pointed out by Lehi that in some cases of Egyptian sources, rebels were executed first and their bodies then incinerated. He specifically points to the Asorkon episode where rebellion took place against them. He was the king's eldest son and also the high priest of Amun, which meant that his crime was a theological one against Amun. The crime's theological nature resulted in the rebels getting burnt. This is what we call comparative cultural analysis. When you're looking at sister cultures, in order to gather the garment of knowledge on a particular subject matter as it pertains to something that is mentioned particularly, but in limited form in the text. All right. This is what our classes do. It gives you holistic data like this to draw from. All right. This is the only place that Lehi believes that phraseology reinforces the view that the rebels were killed first. But as Lehi himself pointed out, a single instance is not adequate basis for generalization. According to the text, Achan's sons, daughters, livestock, and all his possessions were burned with him. Why? Because they were in acquiescence with the crime. They knew about it and did not publish, proclaim, or report it. So back then, that no snitching policy did not exist in ancient Israel. If there was some blood that was shed or some sacrilegious act that was committed, you are to speak up, whether that is somebody in your household or not, so that way that particular act can be treated fairly and justly, whether it requires a sacrifice, whether it requires repentance, or whether it requires death. Okay? Now, today, we're not sovereign in our land, therefore we can't carry out all these judgments. All right? All right, so It says another possibility is that they were judged like Korah and his congregation, who were swallowed up along with their possessions. All right. Or as Robinson says, we are dealing with the concept of community solidarity, in which case the transgressions of an individual are ascribed to the entire community. Another more plausible interpretation has to do with the motive of sanctity. All the spoils taken in war must be consecrated to the Most High and is considered to be holy. So when he took that, he violated that. All right. So let's go back here to the threat of burning. Burning was not only a punishment imposed by the court of law. When people took the law into their own hands, they used the threat of burning. In one case, such as a threat was even carried out. In the Samson stories, we read that the Philistines who pressured Samson's wife to discover the answer to his riddle threatened to burn her and her father's house. Later on, we read that they indeed carried out the threat and they burned her and her father. This was done as retaliation as they suffered Samson's wrath by fire. Block points to the irony. The woman draws the solution to the riddle of Samson to prevent her and her family from being burned, but in the end, she succumbs to the very catastrophe she tried to avoid, precisely because she got the answer from him. Similarly, the Ephraimites and their fury threatened Jephthah that they would burn his house down on top of him. According to verse 1, the reason for their anger was because Jephthah did not call them to join him in his fight against the Ammonites. Some scholars suggest that the Ephraimites were angry because they were denied a share of the victor's booty. Jephthah had already lost his household. Now the Ephraimites wanted to burn down his physical house as well. Instead of thanking him for delivering them from the Ammonites, in their jealousy, they wanted to destroy him. Last one, non-burial. Thus far, we examine cases where people were put to death by fire, but the question still remains. What is the implication of this form of punishment? When people were burnt, it meant that they were not buried. To remain unburied was a curse. Non-burial was worse than death because the spirit of the dead could not find rest and would never reach the underworld. Now, remember we said in regards to being buried at peace. When you die in peace, shalom, that is a good death. When you are gathered unto your ancestors and have a proper burial, that is a good death. That's important. In the ancient world, the dead were offered food due to the belief that they could influence events in the world of the living. The dead will help the living if the latter provided for their needs, but will hurt them if they were neglected. The Bible is clearly antagonistic towards increase of the dead or providing them with food and drink. The prohibition of magic and necromancy in Leviticus and Deuteronomy is motivated the fact that these were among the abhorrent rituals of the Canaanites whom the Israelites abhorred. The Bible does not deny that it is possible to communicate with the dead, but it's totally denounced this practice. It mentions sacrifice to the dead, but always rejects them. Providing the dead with food was not part of Israelite culture, and when it did infiltrate, it was rebuffed by official circles. The fact that non-burial was a curse appears in the War of the Words between David and Goliath. The Philistine curses David and promises, he will give your flesh to the birds of the sky and the beasts of the field. Now to be outdone, David counters him and says, I will strike you down and cut off your head, and I will give the carcasses of the Philistines' camp to the birds of the sky and to the beasts of the field. Again, the curse here is to not be buried so that the spirit will wander aimlessly. The curse of non-burial is also found in the prophetic literature. The carcasses of this people shall be food for the birds of the sky and the beasts of the earth, with none to frighten them off. An echo of Deuteronomy 28:26. That's one of the curses, right? That there are none to frighten off the scavengers implies that there are no survivors or no one who pities them. Similarly, they shall die of deadly diseases. They shall not be lamented, nor shall they be buried. They shall be as dung on the surface of the ground. They shall perish by the sword and by famine, and their dead bodies shall be food for the birds of the air and for the beasts of the field. The curse of the non-burial is also found in extra biblical sources. For example, the vassal treaties of Esarhaddon, may Ninurta, leader of the gods, fell you with his fierce arrow and filled the plain with your corses. Give your flesh to eagles and vultures to feed upon. Let dogs and pigs eat your flesh, and may your spirit have no one to take care or pour libation to him. May the earth receive your body for burial. May the bellies of the dogs and pigs be your burial place, right? When people were burnt to death, the meaning was that they were not to be buried. They were cursed. The idea was that they will not find rest and their spirit will not reach the underworld. A similar concept was found in Egyptian texts, which we know about in the Book of the Dead, etc., right? The same punishment is mentioned in instruction of Sahet Teb Pibre. There is no tomb for the rebel against his majesty. Similarly, in the Joseph story, we read that Joseph interpreted the dream to the baker. In this interpretation, Joseph predicted that in 3 days, let me get to the conclusion. In the Hebrew Bible, execution by burning appears in cases of illicit sex, sacrilege, and as a threat. Execution by burning aims at total obliteration of the evil. Hence why when you have a burnt offering, the priest doesn't eat any part of it. When you have a sin offering, the priest can eat some of it. When it's a burnt offering, the Most High takes all of it. There's none left for nobody else. Okay? The use of the fire motif comes to stress that nothing is left of the sinner, a method of utter extinction. Burning was done in order to not allow the deceased to find rest. The execution by burning was an atrocious deed meant to profane the dead person's memory. The act of burning came to prevent the deceased from being gathered to his kin in the underworld. This means that his spirit wandered aimlessly without finding a resting place and cannot be resurrected. That's important, especially when we look at it in the limelight of Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. So I'm going to stop there. All right. Can somebody block that troll? I'm just looking to see that the troll is here. I don't know what's going on. Can somebody block that troll? I'm seeing some craziness in the chat. Was I muted on reading that? Somebody let me know. I don't know what just happened to the chat. Are y'all still there? Did y'all hear me that time? Is that troll blocked? I don't know what's going on, family. Is anybody there? Thank you, Ice Shoe Cole. Okay, so Emmanuel says, y'all heard me. Okay, cool. All right, so let's sum this up. Let me give you my conclusion on this matter. All right. Somebody said it froze for a second, but I'm back. Okay. Hopefully y'all got most of that. I'm sorry if it did freeze. But I'm gonna work on it. I'm just gonna wire going forward when I do the live stream, so that way it's not muted and it doesn't lock up and freeze. Thank you for the feedback, family. I'm gonna continue to make some quality adjustments so that way you guys get what you're here for. All right. So at the end of the day, understanding the burnt offering, where the offering that is burnt is wholly consumed and nothing is left for anybody. The offering is flayed, the skin is taken off by the priest, but everything else of that offering is wholly consumed and no memory is left of that offering. Same thing with Elijah. Elijah was taken up or ascended up in chariots of fire, and there was nothing left of Elijah. Now, again, if he's gathered by fire, that's something totally different, because he was not put to death and burned by fire. The animal is put to death and the animal is burned wholly by fire. In doing so, there's a propitiation for general atonement of sin of the individual that is voluntarily offering that animal as a burnt offering. The sin offering and guilt offering is mandatory. The peace offering and the burnt offering is voluntary. All right. All right. So with that being said, looking at the case in regards to the burnt offering, when a person is set apart for kerem, they are set apart to be wholly consumed and nothing left. Hence why you even see executions of whole swaths of people mentioned in the Torah. Okay. But when a person creates an egregious act, illicit sex, sacrilegious acts, and threat of burning, and burning as a shameful act, as a negative way to die, they refrain from having a body burnt because you cannot be gathered with your ancestors, and they believe that you will not be at peace, which was one of the good ways in which you die. So keeping the statute, laws, and commandments and understanding these things piece by piece to expound upon it and find out what elements can we parse, do a one-to-one correspondence to our modern day period, and what can we apply today to be in that continuity with our ancestral lineage that has preserved these cultural paradigms that pass it on to us today so we can be back in proper alignment with the Creator. This is why these things are brought out. This is why these things need to be understood. And this is why we need to spend time teaching on these things instead of the things that we constantly argue on all the time. Okay. So with that being said, I'm done. There's more I would say on it, but I see we're getting really late. I'm going to give the next 9 minutes. If you have a question or comment, please throw it in the chat. I'm going to highlight it or I'll answer your question. But we're going to end in about 9 minutes. All right. So throw your questions in your chat. And again, thank you, family, for bearing with me till 2:39 in the morning. Hopefully you enjoyed the content thus far. All right. And again, if you want the articles, email me or sign up for the Patreon and it will be available on Patreon. All right. Okay. So the floor is open. All right, hold on. So, in regards to cremation, you would have to play it based on what we just read, right? So, that halakha, the way you walk that out, would be based on how you interpret it. Now, remember, before people are burnt, they are put to death, they are executed. So, to be executed and wholly consumed by fire was egregious. Now, if a person dies dies after a remarkable life in righteousness, and they are consumed, does that put you at a conundrum? It depends on how you look at it, right? They lived a prosperous life, a lengthy life. It was not premature, it was not violent, right? And they died in peace. So therefore, their body was gathered and it wasn't burned on the spot. They were not executed. So therefore, in a state like that, then you can back off and say, okay, that may be the exception to the rule. However, if a person died a violent death or they are executed and then burnt or cremated, then we know how that goes. All right. So hopefully that gives you more insight in regards to that, my brother. All right. All right, so Feed the Spirit says the idea of the spirit not finding rest after death is a contradiction to Ecclesiastics, right? Give me the scripture. Job and Ecclesiastes, give me the scripture. And we'll address that. All right. Rilo Brown says, how can you prove the Sabbath is on a Saturday? That is not connected to the subject matter. So you have to ask me at another Freestyle Friday or email me the question and I'll address that for you. But I want to deal with things that regards to what we just covered in regards to, rock cut tombs and shelf tombs and, how to die favorably, how to die dishonorably. Okay. Open casket funeral services. There's no prohibition against that in the scriptures. Again, when people died, they I gave to you how they were buried. A lot of times everything was done immediately because they didn't use a lot of preservation methods to maintain the body, and there would be a lot of odor. So typically they would bring spices for the dead, right? To preserve the dead, and then they would put the dead in a tomb, wrap them up and put them in cloth and linen and put them in a tomb, right? That's what they would typically do. All right. James Clark, please stop asking that. I already answered that question earlier. Why are you still saying that? Mods, can you please time him out? Please time him out. All right. Mother Bueller, I just answered that question maybe about a couple minutes ago. I'm not sure if you heard that. All right. Excellent insight, Emmanuel. Excellent insight. All right. All right. So we got another 5 minutes. Any other questions? Thank you, Lizzie Liz. I appreciate that. Anna Israel, yes, it sure is. Yes, it sure is. All praise to the Most High. But what about the cast of Eleazar? For he was burnt by another nation. Could this affect him being around the body for 3 days? Give us a scripture. All right, so Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 20 to 21. All right. And it says, I'll read at verse 18. So it says, and I said to myself, as for the sons of men, God tests them so that they may see for themselves that they are but beasts. For the fates of both men and beasts are the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath. Man has no advantage over the animals, since everything is futile. All go to one place, all come from dust, and all return to dust. Who knows if the spirit of man rises upward and the spirit of the animal descends down on the earth? I have seen that there is nothing better for a man to enjoy his work, because that is his lot. For who can bring him to see what will come after him? Okay. So are you asking, is that contradicting what we just went over? I don't understand for that. I don't understand what you mean by that. So L Hope Gary says, do you believe that the soul is separate from the body? Yes, the soul is separate from the body. However, when the spirit enters into the flesh, the soul, the nefesh, is created, which is a unique entity separate from the spirit and the body, and it resides within the body. Hence, when you die at peace, is to know that your soul will find rest. Your body obviously will, but that your soul also will find rest, and that it also will be at some place gathered to the Most High, right? And when we read rest of the text, it's through the realm of the resurrection, where individuals are brought back and they come into everlasting life, which we read in Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. All right. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return to God who gave it. Now, this is talking about the dust, which is the body, and the spirit, but is no reference to the nefesh, or the soul. He's not talking about the soul here. He's talking about the spirit of life, and he's talking about the body that was made from the dust of the earth, which we see mentioned in Genesis chapter 3, which we went over earlier, in regards to the consequence that Adam had to suffer in toiling the earth in order to get food to eat. All right. See me 2234. Good point. Good point. I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. That's a good point. So Feed the Spirit says, my question is, does these scriptures support the idea that your soul, if you're talking about Ecclesiastics, let's go to Job chapter 3 and 13. Again, the word nefesh is not used there. Let's focus on the word for soul, which is nefesh, not body, not spirit, but nefesh. And again, the word dust is another word associated with the body. Let's go to Job chapter 3, verse 13. Let me address that for you. All right. Let's go to Job 3 and 13. Well, let's just scroll down to 13. All right. For now I would be lying down in peace. I would be asleep and at rest, with kings and counts of the earth, who built for themselves cities now in ruins, or with princes who had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Or why was I not hidden like a stillborn town, like an infant who never sees daylight? Now remember, if you continue to read the Lamentations of Job, he always talks about a premature death, that he would rather that than the suffering that he has gone through. He'd rather a shameful death than suffering the extension of life that he has. But he says here, for now I would be lying down in peace. I will be asleep at rest. But if you go up to verse 11, it says, context, why did I not perish at birth? Why did I not die as I came from the womb? Why were there knees to receive me and breasts that I should be nursed? Knees to receive you has to do with the act that the midwife performs in regards to delivering the baby. Why? Because typically you would have the mother that is giving birth sit on the lap of the midwife, and she will assist her with giving birth. All right. So that's the knees to receive. Okay. And she will help catch the child while the mother is going through pain births and may not be able to catch the child. The midwife will be there. Also, other times the wife or the mother would be sitting on a birthing stool, and the midwife would be on her knees to catch it. They would never lie on their back. Okay, they were always sitting down, because that assists with gravity pulling the baby out. All right. Again, that's a little cultural nugget right there. For now, I would be lying down in peace. I would be asleep and at rest, with the kings and councils of the earth, who built for themselves cities now in ruins, or with princes who had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Now, check this out. He's talking about dying at birth and stillborn. He's not talking about having a lengthy life of righteousness, he's saying about dying at birth or a stillborn birth. You understand? Again, we don't see the term nefesh there, but it's implied that after he would have died at birth as a baby or stillborn, a part of him will still be in existence at rest. Let me give you a great example of that. All right. Let me give you a great example of that. All right. Check it out. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 12. Second Samuel chapter 12, starting at verse 13. It says, then David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. The Lord has taken away your sin. Nathan replied, you will not die. Nevertheless, because by this deed you have shown utter contempt for the word of the Lord, the son born to you will die. Now, check it out. Let's go down. Let's go down. Let me show you something. Let's go to verse 22. David answered, while the child was alive, I fasted and wept, for I said, who knows, the Lord may be gracious to me and let him live. But now that he is dead, why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I will go to him, but he will not return to me. And if you're familiar with Tehillim of the Psalms, David says that his soul will not be left in corruption. The Most High will not leave him in Sheol, but the Most High will gather David unto himself. And David saying this is where his son went. How did he have this knowledge? Well, it correlates back to what Job says. The belief that a stillborn baby or a baby that dies at childbirth will be at rest or at peace, and that their nefesh will be gathered with the Most High, and that their ancestors will be gathered unto them, such as David is the ancestor of this child, and that child will be gathered unto David. Okay? That's the concept there. Again, the term nefesh is not used, but it's implied that some essence, after the spirit is gone and the flesh is gone, some essence lives on. And here we have hints of it. And again, it's laid out even more in the book of Psalms. All right? All right. Imagine Christ blocking people, muting them as they spoke. You want scripture for that? Let me know if you want scripture for that. We got scripture for everything. All right. Let me know if you want scripture for that. All right. Let me see if I probably answer one more question. So Feed the Spirit says, can soul and spirit be used interchangeably? Depends on the context. Give me a scriptural verse. All right. Let me know. Kohen Gadol, no problem. No problem. So Mikhail Eleazar says, where are dead people now? Now, from the summation of my research and any divine insight that I have into the text, my conclusion on the matter is that people who died are in a holding place, awaiting resurrection and judgment. So their judgment and resurrection, matter of fact, let me give it to you. Let's go to Daniel chapter 12. Let's go to Daniel chapter 12. And we're going to go to the Psalms after Daniel 12. All right. We're going to go to Psalm 16 and 10. All right. 16 and 9. I'll start at 9 for context. All right. At that time, Mikhail, the great prince who stands watch over your people, will rise up. There will be a time of distress, the likes of which will not have occurred from the beginning of the nations until that time. But at that time, your people, everyone whose name is found written in the book, will be delivered. And many who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, but others to shame and everlasting contempt. Then the wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness will shine like the stars forever and ever. There is a resurrection, but everybody is asleep in the dust of the earth, awaiting to be awoken. People will say, oh, that's soul sleep, because that's a doctrine that's considered heretical in Orthodox Christianity. That's called soul sleep because so-called cults subscribe to that, such as Jehovah's Witness. However, if you read from the text, it shows here that there's an abode in which those who pass are going to be asleep in some form, or what form you mean. It depends on how you interpret it. In Ecclesiastics, it says the dead know not nothing, meaning that the dead cannot interface wholly with the living unless there's some kind of divine intervention, as in the case of Saul and Shemuel, and which Saul went to the witch of Endor so that she can divine to the dead, in this case Samuel, and Samuel did come up out of the earth, and he interfaced with Saul to pronounce upon him a prophetic utterance that he will die and he will be gathered. Guess what? He will be gathered with Samuel. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Let's get into scripture right there. Let's get into the scripture. All right. Let's get into that. All right. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 9 and 16. All right. 1 Samuel 9 and 16. Let me share it on the screen. Start at verse 15 for context. It says here, tomorrow about this time, I will send to you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall know him to be prince. Oh, wait. That's the wrong verse. Oh, that's not the verse I meant. Hold on one second. Let me find where I'm trying to get at. 28 and 19. I'm sorry. 28 and 19. It's the wrong one. All right, here we go. All right, 28 and 19. I apologize for that. All right. As you can see, I am not perfect. All right, so. All right. So, 1 Samuel 28, verse 16. Why do you consult me, says Samuel, since the Lord has turned away from you and become your enemy? He has done exactly what he spoke through me. The Lord has torn the kingship out of your hand and given it to your neighbor David. Because you did not obey the Lord or carry out his burning anger against Amalek, the Lord has done this to you today. Moreover, verse 19, the Lord will deliver Israel with you into the hands of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons will be with me, and the Lord will deliver the army of Israel. And the Lord will deliver the army of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. Now, David committed suicide, right? Or had suicide committed to him, or homicide committed to him. He died being cursed by the Most High, and did a coward's death. Didn't want to die in battle because he didn't want his enemies. Whenever you go to battle and your enemies kill you, that's a shameful death. All right. Unless the circumstances around it is particular. Nonetheless, Samuel said that no matter what happened to Saul, he's going to be gathered with him. That's what the text says. All right. All right. Check it out. Verse 15, 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 15. Then Samuel said to Saul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? Because he was at a state of rest, or wherever he was at. Some say the bosom of Abraham. That developed during the intertestamental period and found its way in the New Testament. But nevertheless, he's at a state of rest, at peace, or whatever the case may be, and he was disturbed. That's important. So there's some state of rest that was disturbed, and that Samuel and Saul would be gathered together despite what their destinies were. All right. We know Samuel died a righteous death and Saul did not. All right. So hopefully that gives insight into that. But let's jump on this last scripture in Psalm 16. All right. And this is the psalmist discussing resurrection. And again, I got plenty of sources. Yes, Saul did commit suicide. Plenty of sources that we have there. Matter of fact, hold on. Let's get that real quick. 1 Samuel 31. I'm going to show you another thing that is shameful too. 1 Samuel 31. All right. So Psalm 31 and verse 4. Then Saul said to his armor bearer, draw your sword and run it through me. All these uncircumcised men will come and run me through and torture me, possibly burning his body. But his armor bearer was terrified and refused to do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When his armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his own sword and died with him. So Saul, his 3 sons, his armor bearer, and all his men died together that same day. All right. So that's the death of Saul, where he wanted his own men to kill him, but he wound up committing suicide. And again, suicide is not highly looked upon. However, if we go to 2 Samuel chapter 1, right? When Saul's death is reported to David, look what happens. All right. Are you seeing here? David asked the young man who brought him the report, how do you know that Saul and his son Jonathan are dead? I happened to be on Mount Gilboa, he replied, and there was Saul leaning on his spear with the chariots and the cavalry closing in on him. He turned around and saw me, called out, and I answered, here I am. Who are you? He asked. So I told him I'm a Amalekite. Then he begged me, stand over me and kill me, for agony has seized me, but my life still lingers. So I stood over him and killed him. So remember, he when we say he committed suicide, he wasn't fully dead. He attempted it. He wasn't fully dead. But then this man came and he finished the job. And what happened to him? David said, why are you not afraid to lift your hand and destroy the Lord's anointed? And David summoned one of the young men and said, go execute him. So the young men struck him down and he died. But David has said to the Amalekite, your blood be on your own head, because your mouth has testified against you, saying, I killed the Lord's anointed. Everybody knew that David had opportunities to kill Saul, but he chose not to because he understood this principle. All right. So anyway, I'm going to skip past that. And let's finish up on Psalm 16. And then we out of here. Sorry to anybody whose questions I missed. Again, we can always bring it up in other Freestyle Fridays where we have open Q&As. But let me just end off with this, all right? Psalm 16. I remember we showed a reference to the book of Psalms talking about the relationship between that the scribe or the author had with the creator, right? And through that relationship, they understood that the creator would do something special for them, all right? So in verse 9 says, therefore, my heart is glad and my whole being rejoices. My flesh also dwells securely. Flesh dwells securely, for you will not abandon my what? Soul to Sheol. Abandon means I'm not going to leave you there, or let your Holy One see corruption. And F here is for your footnote. And if you click F, it says, or see the pit. All right. Holy One, your set apart one. Remember the scripture says, I never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. The anointed one. David was an anointed one. Why? Because he was a king. Kings were set apart. So therefore, if they were righteous, they would not see corruption. So again, the soul will be in Sheol, but it will not be abandoned there for the righteous. It will be gathered from there. Okay. All right. Listen, trolls, please do not mess with the chat. The chat is serious. Wow. Okay. So I answered your question. So you have the spirit, the soul, and the body. The body is the dust. It's the container for the spirit and soul. The spirit is the pneuma or ruach, which simply means wind, or it can mean breath. And that exemplifies how the unseen acts on the seen, or that which is material and concrete. Okay. And that breath of life is given by the creator at the point of conception, when the body starts, when the fetus starts to replicate. And what happens is the soul, the living soul, gets created, which is the personality and essence of the thing. Okay. But when that thing dies, that spirit breath is inhaled back to the creator, so you can exhale it again into another part of the creation. It's recycled. And then that flesh goes back to the dust of the earth. However, the soul, the nefesh, the thing that is your person, your personality, your character, your will, all of that is contained in Sheol until the resurrection. All right. So hopefully that sums that up. All right. I wanted to address your question, Feed the Spirit. All right. All right. With that being said, family, I'm out. All right. We passed 3 hours. Hopefully when people see the replay, they don't get scared. But for those of you who watch this on a replay, hopefully you watched it to this length. Hopefully you enjoyed everything we shared on the show. Thank you to everybody for your generous donations in the super chat, as well as to the new people that signed up for the Patreon and the people that just recently downloaded the KHM app. Please let this information inspire you to get involved in your community. So through this information that we're learning, we can find a way to reconstruct and restore our culture, to bring our community closer together and bind together towards this reconstructed and restorative information, and from there achieve autonomy or self-governance or our own social affairs, so that we could be a set-apart people unto Yah, and he can receive us when he returns. All right? So thank you, family. I appreciate you all for watching. Shout out to Mother Creary in the building. I see you. All right? Enjoy the rest of your morning, your Sabbath morning. To those of you who keep the Sabbath on today, I love y'all, and I will see you again. Peace and